Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this March 7th, 2023 Radford City Schools School Board meeting to order. Before we have our moment of silence, I just wanted to honor the memories of two local men, pillars of their communities, who've passed away recently. Longtime RCPS employee David Sable was our former executive director of pupil services. He was a passionate and dedicated educator who supported all of his students to achieve success, especially those who were in the need the most. He had just retired in 2020 to spend more time with his family and enjoying the outdoors when he was lost too soon. Our hearts go out to his loved ones. I'd also like to recognize the passing of a legend of our neighboring school family, Pulaski County. Their former head football coach, Coach Joel Hicks. He had spent 23 years as head coach at PCHS, leading the team to victories time and time again. He was inducted into the Virginia High School League Hall of Fame in 2016. And Coach Hicks will be remembered for his love of his family and his friendships and the players that he coached over his lifetime. And the Bobcats are sending some love over the bridge to the Cougars tonight and this week. So thank you very much. Can we please have a moment of silence? All right, will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't know whose order I'm in.
Chris hasn't done it.
Chris, would you like to lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you much. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
So I have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Recognitions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Hill for being here with me tonight. Benny is in France, Paris, with her family and enjoying a trip there, so we appreciate you being here. Then I'd like to invite Coach Chris. He's around here. I know there we are. And I know Andrew's here, and Landon's here. So good. Come on up. Miss Wade, come on up.
I don't need to come up.
Okay. Good job. As you all know, we had probably one of the most successful football seasons that we've had in a very, very long time. And a lot of that is attributed to our head coach and the coaches that we had with the football program this year. Coach Mike Chris, in his second year with us, has done a phenomenal job with the program. And then these two wonderful student athletes that are with us tonight, and then two more who we're missing right now, Marcel. And Marcel's at Tech, of course, and then Parker Prelou is with the basketball team practicing too. So we are grateful for everything that you all, you're wonderful athletes, but you're also great students too, and that's the most important thing. You represent our division very, very well. And Mike, I'm gonna turn it over to you too.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to recognize these guys. We are fortunate that we have 4 players to name to the All-State team, which is the highest honor in high school football. I'm going to start with Andrew, our senior center. Andrew represents the epitome of hard work. He never missed a single workout the entire offseason, and Andrew went from a second-team All-District player as a junior to a first-team All-State player as a senior. Doing that, he also he did all that while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. So while Andrew had multiple opportunities to play at the collegiate level, he decided to solely focus on pursuing his engineering degree. So, Andrew Moore. I'll still recognize Marcel Baylor also. As you know, Marcel has settling into life as a college athlete at Virginia Tech right now really successfully, so we're certainly proud of him. But Marcel's named first team All-State as a wide receiver. He broke Donald Wayne Snell's long-standing school single-season receiving record with 972 yards. And as I mentioned, he enrolled this January at Virginia Tech and is doing really well. So we're proud of Marcel. Additionally, on the defensive side of the ball, Parker Prelo was a senior defensive back. Parker's at basketball practice currently, prepping for the state championship. So he was recognized as an all-state defensive back with 4 interceptions. But on the offensive side of the ball, he also broke Marcel Baylor's school record for most yards with 1,011 yards, and then set this single season reception record with 62 receptions. Parker has committed to sign and play football at Emory and Henry next fall. So, and then certainly, last but not least, Landon Clark, our junior quarterback, set school records. He was named first team All-State quarterback. Set school records for most passing yards with 2,972, most touchdowns with 44 touchdown passes in a single season, most completions with 166 in a single season, and he had 52 total touchdowns and only threw 1 interception last year. So.
You took Coach Chris, don't bully me.
Yeah.
These two also
She
last
knows how
night
to
were
zoom
very
in.
instrumental
She
in helping
pops
our
it in.
basketball team move forward too with their support. We call it support, right? Yeah. Thank you guys. Congratulations. Good job.
Good job, guys.
Great job.
Congratulations.
Any other?
Yes, ma'am. Ask Mr. Wilder and Ms. Lincoln Hooker and Ms. Schlenk to come up, please. So I would like to recognize Ms. Schlenk as our, she is our RCPS Division Teacher of the Year. She was chosen out of 4 throughout the schools that we had. Represents Radford City just like we want with all our educators. You know, we talk a lot about the art of teaching and the heart of teaching, and she exemplifies that. She's been with us 19 years as a 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. just about wears many hats for us and wears them very, very well. Stacy has a lot of strengths, but I think that probably her greatest strength is the way that she interacts with the children. And they can be difficult and challenging at times, but she still has very high expectations for them, and at the same time treats them with a lot of respect and care and love too. And we're grateful for that too. And not only did we recognize you, but the House Delegates recognize you too. Jason came by to see me today, and he has a commendation for you that he shared with his colleagues in the General Assembly, and it just says, "Commendation, the House Delegates of the Commonwealth of Virginia hereby offers sincerest congratulations to Stacey Schwenk in recognition of being named Radford City Schools Teacher of the Year, offered by Delegate Jason Ballard on February 13th, 2023. This was presented to them as well, so congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Graham, may I interject something? Delegate Ballard messaged me this evening, and he was really sorry that he couldn't be here, but he wanted to tell you congratulations, and he's very proud of your accomplishment.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And you all, would you like to say a few words?
You know, Stacy's a lot of things, and a lot being the operative word. However, we are so blessed to have Stacy as a part of our school community. You enter her room and you feel joy. The kids feel it, I feel it. I know Stacy doesn't always feel it, but you do. You walk into that room and she is the epitome of amazing teaching. So we are very lucky.
Thank you.
last thing is I would like to remind everybody, I sent an announcement out today that boys basketball state final will be held at the Siegel Center in Richmond on Saturday we're in session 6 at 6:30, and we play John Marshall as a high school in Richmond. So good luck to our boys basketball team as well. And then lastly, I'd like to introduce Miss Davy and the Be the Change Club, who have come to present to you all tonight. And let me grab you a lectern so that we.
Okay.
And you may, those of you that are speaking, just hold that up so we can get you. Thank you all for being here.
Okay, hi. Thank you for having us. Be the Change Club started about 7 years ago when some kids came to me and said they just would like to make a positive impact in the community. So we started the club. We don't have dues. We don't have a budget, but we always accept donations. Whatever money we collect always goes back to the group that we're collecting money for. So at the beginning of the year, we have a poll and we find out what the kids want to, what they would like to do, and then we make it happen. We figure out how to make it happen. So it's a group of kids with big ideas and even bigger hearts. And there's a few of them here that are going to tell you some projects we have this year.
All right, my name is Sarah Harvey and I'm Secretary of Be the Change. One of the biggest things we are involved in is recycling. We actually have a partnership with the city and they provided a container for us to collect recycling. They take our recycling to the center for us, which is super sweet. We love it. We have bins all in every single classroom, the office, hallways, and we collect a lot every month.
My name's Madison Graham. I'm the vice president of Be the Change, and along with projects that we do at the school, like recycling, we have partnerships with the community. So right now we have a partnership with New River Valley Community Services, and they have a partnership with nursing homes. So we spend some of our meetings making cards and little treats for the residents at nursing homes, because we all know it can get a little sad there during holiday times. So we put together projects for them and give them to them to make them feel better.
Hi, I'm Jenna Goname, the historian of Be the Change Club. Last year, I had the privilege of helping Miss Davy with the Pulsera project, and hopefully we'll do that again this year. Basically what that is, it's just a program where high schools will have the opportunity to be able to sell bracelets or bags that are handmade from artisans in Central America. All the profit goes back to them, and it's actually really cool, and so many people last year enjoyed it, and so many people got bracelets for themselves and for their friends and family.
Thank you. Miss Davy, can I ask you how many students?
We got some questions, I'm sure.
How many students we have in there now?
About 20 or 30.
Yeah,
That's
20 or
wonderful.
30.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And they're very diligent. They come every month and do all the recycling and love to come out and do the cards. And they're a great group of kids.
Miss Davy
I love
serves on the Rapid Youth and Adult Partnership Program because of the Change. Mike Wade, who's kind of in charge of that, asked her to do that because of the good work that these folks are doing at the high school. So we're grateful for your supervision of the program and grateful for our students and what they do to help the entire community, not just Rapid High School. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Questions? All right,
Good. I think
Miss
Miss Grant wants to take a picture probably.
It's really all them. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
That's all the recognitions and reports.
All right. We also know that the forensics kids are headed to states as well. Do we have any other teams that are headed to states?
I
I think that's where we are right now. So forensics will be headed up to Sterling
correct.
at the end of the month, so we're excited for them too. Alrighty, the consent items. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? And the bills and petty cash reports, student activities and school facilities. We had a few new school facilities and field trip forms on at our desks. If there was anything else, anybody had any questions about any of those? Looks like good things. Does anybody have any questions or comments on any of the consent items? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
I move that we approve the consent items.
Okay. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, information items. This part of the meeting is reserved for public comments regarding items on our agenda or in regards to Radford City Schools. It's your opportunity to address the board. You're requested to keep your comments polite and courteous. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect to the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. Speakers should be aware that they may be held legally responsible if they make statements that violate the legal rights of others, for example, if statements are made that are defamatory or threatening. Complaints about specific school personnel are best addressed to school administration, who will address those concerns as appropriated through existing board complaint procedures. Please remember that you cannot mention specific students' names during public comments. Comments likely to disrupt the board's work or prompt a breach of the peace are prohibited, and the speaker will be called out of order by the board chair. Please remember that debate during public comments is prohibited. For the record, please state your name and address. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker at board meetings. If anyone wishes to make comments, please come to the podium at this time. We've got Lindsay Lesko. Come there. Yeah, or you can pin it to you either way.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Lindsay Lesko, and I'm a kindergarten teacher at McHarg. Next year will be my 7th year teaching and my 3rd in Radford. I previously taught in Newport News, a very large public school system. When my husband and I decided to move to Blacksburg, I heard wonderful things about Radford City Schools, particularly the superintendent, the newly hired administration, and the community, which is what drew me to applying here. Since I came to McHarg, I've experienced the support of administration from day one. They are all in the trenches with us on a daily basis. I've also come to admire and appreciate the meaningful relationships between the schools and families. I love the students. I've had the privilege of teaching here. Sorry, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. And the families I've gotten to know. I'm so grateful to be a teacher here in Radford.
It's okay.
Sorry, I did
Take
not
your
think
time.
this was going to happen. Okay. It's no secret that schools and teachers have had a rough time everywhere in the last few years. Radford is no exception. Each year I've returned to the classroom, it has only gotten harder, although my experience has grown over the years. The demands on teachers have increased in a multitude of ways. I am not alone in sharing that my mental and physical health have been negatively affected by teaching. Daily conversations between staff about how to keep going and get through the rest of the day. I'd like to read a direct quote from the Virginia Department of Education. According to the 2021 Annual Report on the Condition of Needs of Public Schools in Virginia by the Virginia Board of Education, there were 1,063 unfilled teaching positions for the 2019-2020 school year. As of August 2022, the Staffing and Vacancy Report tool shows 2,594 teacher vacancies, end quote. I know I only teach numbers explicitly to 20 in kindergarten, but I'm pretty certain 2,500 vacancies is more than double 1,000 vacancies. This happened in only 2 school years' time. There are only 16 elementary education student teachers from Radford University this semester. For perspective, 2 years ago, there were consistently over 100 teacher candidates in Radford's program, which made it very competitive to get in. I received my MAT from Christopher Newport University, where the same trend in the program is happening. To put it bluntly, we have a teacher retention and teacher recruitment crisis. For a career that so many of us hold so close to our hearts, it's scary thinking about what the next few years in public education will look like. But we keep going because we love the children we educate and want them to succeed in their lives. On behalf of many of my colleagues, I'm here in support of 2 delayed starts for elementary schools next year. When the schedule was first shared, I immediately felt relief, hope, and excitement for next year. The extra uninterrupted planning time will do wonders for our teachers, students, and in the end, all of Radford. Teacher productivity is far higher in the mornings before we pour all of our energy into teaching all day. When we are given time to be productive, we create and develop meaningful, research-based, engaging lessons. Elementary teachers write, prepare, and implement 20 to 25, if not more, lessons on a weekly basis. This includes social emotional lessons, math, science, social studies, whole group reading, small group reading from multiple different groups, all differentiated to fit each child's needs. When we have time to plan meaningful instruction, our students benefit from more learning, more engagement, and more attention to their needs. More planning time for lessons is just one of the many benefits for teachers. Besides planning, extra uninterrupted time allows teachers to collaborate together, which we have very little of right now. Professional learning communities, or PLCs, are one of the most research-based, effective ways to improve student achievement. I am on our division's innovation planning team that includes teachers from all of Radford schools. Having time together that does not disrupt student learning with a substitute covering my class and others, and doesn't involve navigating all of our hectic schedules of the schools would be wonderful and lead to amazing, innovative ideas from kindergarten all the way to our seniors. One other advantage of a delayed start would be the ability to schedule meetings inside our contract hours that does not cut into our lesson planning time. This year, I personally have had 35 extra meetings, including IEP, RTI, 504, leadership, and faculty meetings. A majority were during 1 or 2 of my 35-minute planning times, and the rest were all outside my contract hours. These meetings are extremely important, and I am not upset I've attended them because I know in the end they benefit my students and my own professional development. However, it has taken a toll on me and my students because I can only work into the night or over the weekend so many times to try and maintain a work-life balance that is healthy. I feel comfortable sharing all of this with you all tonight because I know we are all on the same team in wanting what is best for our students and families. Sorry, I really did not think this was going to get to me this much.
You want more peppermint patty?
No, thank you. I don't like chocolate. Don't judge me by that. But our goal as teachers is to educate our students while keeping them safe. 2 delayed starts for uninterrupted planning time and collaboration would be utilized in so many ways to give our best to the kids we love. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I'll read them as they came in early. So this one came from Melissa Gerald, who is at 33 Ridgeville Lane in Radford. And it came in at Monday, March 6, 2023 at 9:45. I think you all had this one too. Dear Mr. Graham and RCPS board members, first and foremost, thank you all for what you do for our students, our RCPS staff members, our schools, and our community. My husband and I are proud to be part of this RCPS family. We moved back to Radford City so that our children could benefit from being taught by the top educators in our area. As a member and current president of McCarg PSA, I have seen firsthand all the love and support that these teachers and staff pour out to their students each day. I am grateful for the RCPS community. It has come to my attention that the Board of Education may be considering a later start time, a couple of days per week for McCarg and Bellheath for the 2023-2024 school year. To my understanding, on the later start days, McCarg and Bellheath would start receiving students at 9:55 a.m. and that the tardy bell would ring at 10:15 a.m. I am sure that the later start date helps the teachers and staff in having extra uninterrupted time for planning and other work items that need to be taken care of. I can also see where a later start time might be enticing for hiring and recruiting new teachers and staff to have the extra time, 1 to 2 days per week. I'm also aware that other pros include increased sleep time for students, decreased tardies, and decreased truancy. However, I'm looking at it as a parent's perspective. My first thoughts and concerns with this potential schedule change are the elementary age child benefits from a routine. Changing the schedule would change the routine for many of our little ones, and that might be difficult for them to handle. I know that RHS and DIS currently have the later start a couple days a week. However, as students get older, I think that the ability to change comes easier to them in most cases. I realize that there are exceptions. I'm also concerned for the working parent who has to get their child or children to school at that later start time. I have a flexible schedule and it's easy for me to get my children to school at later time, but not all parents have the ability to do this based on their work schedule. I realize that buses will run later, but if a parent needs to be at work earlier, elementary students, especially McCarg students, would not be able to wait on the bus at home alone, unsupervised. Again, this later start time for getting to school for RHS and DIS students is a bit easier as they are more self-sufficient and can get themselves on the buses, walk to school, and or drive themselves to school. I would also like to know what other scheduling options have been considered for giving teachers more planning and competent time that did not seem to be optimal options, therefore moving us to considering starting later 1 to 2 days a week. In the event of a 2-hour delay, not that it happens frequently, it has been determined what the transportation schedule would look like for students. There are hundreds of families that will be affected by this change, and you must consider the opinions of those families. I understand that teachers and staff have been told, but what about the families that this will change so much for? We need to be able to voice our opinions as well. Another concern of mine is that RCPS families, including some RCPS teachers and staff, will have challenges with daycare for these morning hours. I'm not trying to complain or be difficult, I'm just trying to understand why that pushes this possible decision. I am also attempting to put my opinion out there to be considered by the RCPS Board of Education prior to the final decision being made about the later start for McCarg and Belle Heath. I appreciate your time and attention to this matter. Please let me know if you have any questions and or concerns or you may need any additional information. Thanks so much, Melissa Gerald. And then the second one is from Megan Morton, and I don't have an address for this one.
Rob, would you speak up just a little bit?
Yes, sorry. Okay, this is from Megan Morton, and she sent this in today at 5:24, and this says, "Good evening. I will be unable to attend the school board meeting this evening, but wanted to comment on an issue I had seen would be discussed. On the agenda, it only says daily bell schedule for all schools, but after seeing several posts on social media, I was made aware that a delayed start is being considered for McCarg and Belle Heath next year. I wish there had been more open communication with parents regarding this potential change. The agenda sent was vague, and I do not think we should have to find out details from social media about this. I have 2 children at Belle Heath School, so this directly affects our family. Regarding the delayed start, while I understand this allows for teacher planning, which I fully support, I feel that a delayed start is very hard for working parents. This goes hand in hand with the 2-hour early release that was so difficult on us on Wednesdays during the pandemic. We're so grateful to finally have a regular school year this year, and now we're hearing similar thoughts again. It's very frustrating and adds a lot of worry to parents. Again, I totally support teacher planning, but no other school district in the area does this. So there has been other compromise in shortening the school day. I hope that you will take my thoughts and others into consideration when looking at this change."
Okay.
And that's from Megan Morton.
Okay, and I've got one from Nicole Watson, who's a kindergarten teacher, and I don't know her address, but I know it's in Radford. She said, "I wanted to send a quick message in regards to the delayed start for elementary students for the 2023-2024 school year. I'm a mother to 3 young children, and I'm not able to attend the meeting to show my support. I watch the meetings every time and appreciate all the time you put into serving our children, teachers, and community. I wanted you to know my thoughts since I can't be there in person to share. I've been teaching for 23 years. Times are certainly different, and the demands on our teachers are higher than ever. I'm passionate about this profession and strive each day to be the best educator for the students I am privileged to have in my class. They really do become mine. I try to be the teacher that I would want my own children to have. Relationships are my top priority, And that also means relationships with families. That means we need time to make phone calls, send emails, post videos, and post photos on Seesaw, and even have conferences with families. I want lessons to be engaging while also meeting the standards. I need time to plan, create, build, and implement lessons that are based on students' needs. Data must be collected, recorded, and studied to plan to make small group targeted instruction. All of these things take a large amount of time. I am in full support of a 2-day delayed start like that implemented at the high school. The week that we had to complete our standards-based report cards for kindergarten, I worked over 62 hours. It was very hard on my family and affected my mental health. Please consider voting to support the needed planning time for elementary teachers and the delayed start. Thank you, Nicole Watson. I think that's
all I have.
all of those.
We did not receive anything from Amanda Griffith because Amanda had said she was sending something. Okay.
I haven't gotten anything.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you all so much for your comments. Report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would like to start with Ms. Epperly, who's going to give us a audit presentation for fiscal year 2022. Thank you for being here. We enjoy having you. She's subbing in for Corbin tonight, so.
Yes. Good evening. I am Diana Epperly, and I work with Corbin Stone on the audit. We're going to be going over the audit presentation, and Corbin apologizes for not being able to be here tonight. But his contact information, his email is down here on the front page, and then our office phone number is also on there. I want to start off by saying the audit went very well. It was a pleasure to work with management and staff of the school board, and the school board did receive an unmodified opinion, which is the best that they can receive. We were required to report 2 findings in the back of the audit report, but those were out of control of the school board. The first finding relates to the self-insurance fund. The accounts of the self-insurance fund are held by a company called BPA, and during fiscal year 2022, BPA opened a second account to process claims, and the school board was unaware of this. And as a result, the school board did not receive monthly statements for that account, and so they were not able to post the necessary transactions of the self-insurance fund. Since then, we've talked to Carrie about this, and she started to get monthly statements for both accounts held by BPA. The second finding relates to ESSER funding that was received by the school board, and it relates to the Davis-Bacon Act requirement. The Davis-Bacon Act requirement requires that contractors pay their employees prevailing wage rate requirements, and then they are required to submit certified payroll reports for review. The federal guidance around ESSER funding, which is an extension of ARPA funding, has been very difficult and challenging as the requirements have changed since the funding was first issued. With that said, if a contract had already been put in place with the contractor and it did not include the Davis-Bacon Act requirements, the contractor most likely would not agree to provide that information because it's a administrative burden to the contractors. They would have to basically provide additional documentation. I know that Rob and Carrie in this instance reached out to the contractor to try to get the required information, and they were not willing to do this. So like I said before, we're not concerned with either of these findings, but we are required to report those. Okay. Now to the not so boring, now to the boring part. On page 1, you'll see that this is just select historical financial data from 2013 to 2022. And from 2020 to 2022, you'll see that your state and federal funding almost doubled. And this is not a normal occurrence. From 2021 to 2022, your your state funding, which is the top line, increased by approximately $4.2 million, which is made up of $2 million increase of basic state aid. Your federal funding increased from 2021 to 2022 by $1.7 million, and that is mainly due to your increase in ESSER funding and then also school food federal funding. Local operating funding increased by approximately $1 million, and your local capital funding has been increasing from 2020 to 2022 as it relates to the McCarg project that you guys had going on. The next section is your operating expenditures, and from 2021 to 2022, those did increase by approximately $6 million. Right below that, you'll see your federal and capital projects expenditures, and similar to the local capital funding, you've seen increases over the past few years, but those are also related to the McCarg project. Overall, your fund balance increased by approximately $459,000, and a lot of that has to do with your school cafeteria and your school textbooks fund. It is important to remember that your financial health is tied to the city's financial health, which is also tied to Radford University's financial health. And as I'm sure you guys are aware, Radford University has seen a decline in their enrollment. So with that said, there could be challenges going forward for the city of Radford. Okay. On page 2, we go over the long-term obligations. And with the exception of the VRS pension liability, there wasn't a lot of change for any of your long-term obligations. You'll see a significant decrease from 2021 to 2022 in your VRS pension liability. And what you guys don't see behind the scenes is pension liability is actually measured a year behind. So what's reported in the June 30th, 2022 audit report is actually measured as of June 30th, 2021. And at that time, the markets were very strong, and as a result, your pension liability was down. So as the markets change, you'll see a change in your pension liability. On pages 3 through 6, we've provided a copy of the School Activity Fund management comments from the School Activity Fund audit. We had no major concerns during the School Activity Fund audit, but we did want to share these comments with you guys. And the next section is our communication with those charged with governance, and that starts on page 7. This is a letter that we are required to make, and it has certain disclosures to the board, and they are all in this letter. Additionally, this letter notes any significant estimates, key disclosures, and adjusting entries for the audit report. Additionally, if we had any difficulty dealing with management, it would be disclosed in this letter. We did not have any issues with management and staff, as they were all great to work with. So as Corbin says, you received the boilerplate letter. And the last part is just our adjusting entries that we provided to Carrie. And there were not very many entries, with exception of this self-insurance fund, but that was just due to what we talked about earlier with her not getting the actual statements from BPA. I'm looking forward to fiscal year 2023 and the upcoming standards. GASB statement number 96, which is subscription-based information technology arrangements, could be significant to the school board, and that just depends on how many subscription-based arrangements that the school board has. This is something that we'll work with Carrie on, and it's not necessarily something that you as a board has to deal with. So once again, the audit went very well. Do you guys have any questions?
I see one note in here about stamps. Should we not use stamps? Signature stamps?
So the concern with signature stamps is it's very hard. If we can verify that the signature stamp is held by the person's whose the stamp it actually is. So if it was my signature stamp, I actually held it and no one else had access to it, it's okay. But if you have other people that have access to that signature stamp, then they're having the ability to approve something without that person actually knowing it's been approved. That's our biggest concern when it comes to signature stamps. Do you have any other questions? Okay. If you guys find that you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
We certainly appreciate our relationship with the folks at Robinson Cox.
Absolutely.
They've been wonderful with us for many, many years, and we appreciate all the support.
Thank you.
So thank you, Diana. Mr. Murphy, I think I saw him somewhere around.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. He came to give us an update on the stadium. And Jack, as always, thank you for being here and taking your time.
We need to name that podium.
It's me
Yeah.
again. So I can't tap dance. I can talk a little bit. All good to go there. I will do that. Okay, thank you. All right, as most of you probably know, there's been a few discussions in trying to finalize the approach and the design, and I've been negotiating on your behalf, but I also want to make sure everybody understands what it is that we're being proposed and that what that means in terms of the changes overall, and then where we go from here. So with that, this in the right place here. There we go. These are the things that I'm going to cover. I'm going to try to avoid rehashing anything from previous meetings, although I will show you the cost comparison to what we were last looking at on the February 14th meeting, and then compared to numbers that I just got about an hour ago. So hot off the press. Previously, I had reviewed some of the capacity of the stadium. I presented this information that you see in the lower left corner there, that those two capacities there are based on how it would be determined by today's code. Even though the current arrangement isn't necessarily to code, we would need to have additional aisleways and handrails and things like that, which would reduce your seating overall. But based on how it is laid out today, the capacity is 4,796 seats. And the above analysis is the tickets, the gate, I guess you call it there, for each game up from last year. There was 5 games. The average attendance, when you take into account the paying, adding the band, and additional passes, is shown there under the total. The average is 1,407, so significantly less than what your overall stadium capacity is. But if you notice also that while the difference between the average and the total capacity, we show a surplus or excess of about almost 3,389 seats. And even if you take the largest game there, that's Christiansburg game, with a total of 2,247, the difference there is still well over 2,500 seats in excess that's remaining. So with that information, we thought it would help support some changes on what was being proposed with the design. If you recall, the design from the Bleacher Company, in order to fit this over top of the existing structure, we were going to need to elevate the entire thing. And by doing that and matching the number of rows, we'd be elevated in the rear, and both on the home and the visitor side. And there was a lot of discussion in one of the meetings, if we were able to bring that down, how many rows would we lose? And I also presented at the last meeting a various permutation if we took 2 rows out versus 4, or 4 on both sides, lots of different numbers. Went back and worked it out with Mr. Howard from Grandstand Design, and he was able to revise the design. So what he came up with, and I show it in the upper left there, that was the previous design from Grandstand Design. So that's 4394. That was a little bit less than what that currently holds, because that's a code compliant design. If we were able to remove 3 rows of seats on both the visitors and the home side, he made some adjustments that kind of slid things up a bit so we could have a flush connection at the top of both the visitor side and the home side. So you'd walk straight in from the concrete right into the back of the stand. So it would only be 3 rows reduced, not 4. So by doing that, you can see the difference that we would be losing on each side. So we'd be reducing the total stadium capacity by 686 seats, and that would put us at 3,708. So you compare that to the attendance figures from last year, and compared to the average attendance, you can see there's still well more than what the average attendance was, 2,000 additional seats. And then even in comparison to the maximum attendance, that we still have an excess greater than what the average attendance was. So I don't think there's any fear of doing this. One thing I like to say a lot is you can't design your church for Easter Sunday, right? You got to, granted, there may be a time where there might be standing room only, but that's a good thing. It's once every so many years. But I think for the most part, with the attendance that you're seeing, this proposal should satisfy the needs for capacity in the stadium as a whole. So with that information, I just want to review with you what that means in terms of the design, how those changes are. And this was what was submitted back in, I think, February 2nd, and this has now been revised, but this was the original you see in the rear there. Shouldn't take anything with me. Where we had the ramps and stairs to get up to that higher level in the rear. This was comprised of 16 rows overall, and you can see that the total capacity on the home side was just under 3,000. Visitor side 1,476, and that was at 4,394. Again, this was the old design. You can see that we had almost a 4-foot elevation increase. This is the existing walkway back here right now. I'm sorry, right here, existing walkway. What we were trying to do is, if we extended that walkway out, how many rows would we lose? And in this previous design, we would have lost 4. But with the new design, we were able to adjust that to only lose 3 and make up a little bit of space down at the bottom. And that's essentially how all this was done, to reduce the capacity, fit it into the stadium. Again, it's going to feel like it fit in around the perimeter, okay? The main front wall will still be there. There'll be an apron around that, and the brick walls will still be there on the sides. This is what I just received. This is the new layout, and you can see in the rear that we don't have any of those stairs or ramps. This space here is actually a little bit wider than it was before, so there's a larger concourse, and you can see where the various locations would be for handicapped accessibility. Same on the visitor side, no ramps or stairs, handicapped accessibility at the top. And here's the revised totals at 3,708 capacity with that plan. This illustrates the. Can I share? Not sure what that is. We have just under 3 feet at the very bottom, and then at the top here, this here used to be 6. It's now 7 feet, and there's 13 rows. So these are the actual steps, and on each one of these is where there'll be a little bit of a raised stem bracket, and then the actual plank seating going down through here. There is a difference with this layout. At the very top row, they're going to provide a backrest for 2 reasons. Number one, it's required where the handicap seating is, so they don't actually roll into the backs of the people at that top seat. But also, it'll just finish it off. It really takes the place of that chain link fence that's up there now, but it gives you a much wider and deeper concourse area. So this photo just illustrates the backrest. This, in general, is what the handrails would look like going down the aisles and that sort of thing. But at the top row only, we would have this sort of backrest attached to all those bleachers there. But again, it'd be a flat walk into the stadium. The remainder down there will still be elevated. You just really won't know it, the way it sits down into it. The other thing, I said I'd go back and spend a little more time with Mr. Eccles, was reviewing the interim patching and what would be required. There's been a lot of discussion over, he gave a proposal of $95,000 to do these interim fixes, and understanding the difference between the 2 sides, where the visitor side was significantly less effort to fix that. You can see the breakdown of the cost. I didn't have that before between the 2 sides. The direction seemed to be going, let's repair the visitor side, let's get them going. They can start on the home side first. Maybe they'll have that home side finished by first game. It won't prevent use of the press box, concessions, toilet rooms, anything like that. But certainly everyone would be able to fit on the visitor side. We've shown that with the other attendance numbers. But it may not be an issue. I mean, we just got to wait to see when the material comes. So I think that where things were going was that we'd spend the money on fixing the visitor side only, not the home side. $60,000 for a couple games doesn't seem like a good use of your dollars there. So with that in mind, I utilize that information to update my our cost estimate. But one thing I do want to point out with the cost estimate, and it's a caveat from the bleacher companies said all along, that his caissons that are supporting this thing are based on a 2,000 pounds per square inch bearing capacity. It's not an unusual number. I feel pretty confident based on what's there right now that it'll be able to support it, but it's a caveat in case they either hit rock or they hit some loose soil, something has to be adjusted. If that's necessary, I feel confident it could come out of the contingency that's been established so far. So the geotech analysis is about to take place. First thing that had to be done, the two drawings on the left there show the locations where it just was completed today, drilling these 8-inch holes through, all the way through the precast to allow the geotechnical engineer to get there and auger down 10 feet at each one of these locations to get the analysis of the strata there and see what kind of bearing capacity we have. So that should be happening, if not by the end of this week, early next week. But all the holes are drilled. When that work's complete, those holes will all have a metal plate put over top and screwed into place. So this is what I presented on Valentine's Day. I'm not going to revisit things on the right side right now, but down the left-hand side was what we were looking at for the infill bleacher system. The price from Grandstand Design, roughly $1.5 million. We knew we still needed to get a stairway in there for access down to the track, and that it wasn't fully decided the apron that was going to go in the front on both sides. So those were, I knew it was going to be 2 extra items. Talked a lot last time about the potential for asbestos being in the caulk. You remember the findings of the old letters and all that? Well, we went ahead and we contracted with the asbestos hazardous material sampling company. They took multiple samples on both sides. Every single one came back negative. So whether it was done back in '94 and replaced all then, or '91, whatever year that was, I don't know, but that's out of the equation now. We don't have to do it. That's really good news, and that will allow the bleacher installation for where they got to cut for their caissons. They can dispose of that with no problem. But you see here, I was also carrying that $95,000 for the repairs for both sides. Today, and I'm referring to this now as a construction budget because I feel pretty confident about these numbers overall. There's only 2 unknowns at this point here. One is the subsurface conditions for the caissons, that we were able to achieve that 2,000 PSI, and the other is the line item there for site improvements for accessibility, and that's something that needs to be designed, and we'll get a price. I recommend to go through the job order contracting again, just because of the time that's going to save the turnaround with that. But we can work within that budget too, in terms of know where we're headed before that's finalized. But I'm pretty pleased with this number overall for several reasons. Number one, the overall design proposal dropped significantly from the almost $1.5 million. The 2 additional things that we were looking at were the additional stair, which 2 weeks ago I was told is $12,500, and then to add the aprons on both sides was a $35,000 item. So I got those items at $10,000 now, the 2 of them together. There's been a lot of discussion also with the city potentially acquiring some of the existing planking that's there for reuse at some of the parks and right outside here, as well as Veterans Field and Joe Hodge Field. A lot of discussion on that, and he agreed today that he would give them up. He'd donate them to the project as long as the city removed them themselves and took the hardware that comes with it. They can't just leave the screws sticking out where they need it. So I think that's roughly 19% or so of the total that's there, at 1,400 linear feet. So I'd say that's about almost a $2,000 value when you take in the labor to remove it and so forth. So he agreed to donate that back to the project. If we go with the interim repairs just for the visitors, Travis, Mr. Eccles also told me that he would do that on a not to exceed price. I still think that's a little steep, so it won't be more than that. It potentially could be less to fix the visitor side. So combining that, maintaining that 10% contingency right now with the other work and fees that we're estimating, that's a difference of about $135,000 total from what I presented 2 weeks ago. So I'm pretty pleased with where that's going. I think the design has reached a really good compromise in terms of the feel for the stadium with the minimal impact of what's there right now. And certainly I think it will accommodate the capacity needs as well. Any questions on this? I have one more, just talk about the schedule a little bit. Good.
I have one question about repair. Weren't we talking about bringing in temporary bleachers at one point?
We don't need them according to the numbers that we are being told for the
We don't need them for the numbers, plus the concern was, well, first of all, it was about $60,000. And what it was going to do to the track. Because we need to make the track last at least another year or two before we can get that project. So that was it. So this upper schedule here, the grandstand design proposal, is the same that from the very first proposal and same time frame. He still feels that 6 month for fabrication delivery. He doesn't think it will be more than that. There's a good chance it could be less than that. Certainly if he focuses on the home side initially, don't even touch the visitor side until home's done, then we go over and do that part. That, maybe a game or two, everyone would have to be on the visitor side, but then we could move over in the beginning of the season still to the home side. The other work that has to take place is we have to design all the accessible walkways, and going to get various pricing to see how much we can do with that budget line item. I'd like to replace some of the other ramps that are there now. If you take a close look at that, they've been repaired several times, and the connections for the railings have plates on the ground, and I'm just concerned that their future is somewhat limited. So I'd like to address all that at one time and fit that under that accessibility line item. Once that work's done, we go through the job order contract price proposal, and that work would take place before they start all the other work on the stadium. So it could take place this summer, that we have the accessible walkways in, even though they're going to be using the visitor side in the beginning. So I think that's very doable to accomplish the bottom part, and certainly on the top with the new price, we got to execute a contract with Mr. Howard's group, and that would be the contract through the TIPS cooperative contract. So that certainly will expedite that whole process as well.
So if we move back to the home side, we're not going to do any work on the visitor side until after the season's over, correct? Is that?
Chris said he could do it either way.
Either way, okay.
So they could start that, and I think they could stay out of your way over there.
But
But
it'd be nice to have them finish their season without any construction around, and
Okay.
then have him do it after, if you all are comfortable with that too. I just think it's a lot. We'll have the visitor side ready to go, and if the home side's there, we won't have any issues really until the season's over, and it won't take them very long from what he told me.
no, it's
visitor
actually,
side.
I think the total installation time is only 6 weeks. if for both sides together. So it won't be long.
So, Jack, what do you need from us in order to go forward from here? Just support?
That you're in agreement with this approach, and I'll get him to finalize the contract and get that over to you for purchase orders. If everyone's understands what it is you're going to be getting.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Just so I'm clear, Jack, thank you for all the information as usual. I mean, are we looking at utilizing the visitor side, having everyone sit on that side? If I'm
Yes, sir.
Am I the only one that has concerns about that? I mean, I love our Bradford families. I love our visitors when they come in. But this is Southwest Virginia, and we love us some football, and we are passionate about it. There's issues at our games when we're spread out. I mean, am I the only one that has concern about squeezing everybody onto the visitor side?
I'll tell you my opinion. I've
Please.
thought about it, and it's not ideal, but I look at it much like a basketball game, a crowded game, mixed. And I think with proper security, I mean, it's just would have to mitigate the
Well, like
risk.
last night.
That's all.
I mean, last night was very crowded.
I have my concerns as well.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not concerned enough to say don't do it. I guess is where my.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're running down this track now. We're not going to stop halfway, but.
Just to be honest with you too, I'm more concerned about the children running around in the stadium than what we have in our seatings. I think our administrators would tell you that too, and maybe this will force us to make them sit in the stands.
I mean, I was at every game last year and the year before and the year before, and I'm with you. I'm just, you know,
I think it's a concern, but to your point, Rob, it's also last night. If you went, people were mixed, and it was as rowdy of a basketball game as I've ever been to.
It was one of the most. I mean, I've been to a lot.
Yeah.
And it was rowdy.
Okay.
But we
you
had
say-
officers at each of the.
And, I mean, the children handled themselves very, very well. You know, I think the crowd handled themselves very, very well. It was a tough game, and you know, I think I understand the passion. I get it, especially with hometown football games like we have. But I do believe what Jack has shown us too is that we have enough seating to really provide a safe environment for.
Okay. My only thought was, should we switch the side we're working on? The home side, we obviously have more space to spread out some. Would that be more advantageous? Obviously, it's not a matter of whether we do it or not. That's already done.
Yeah.
It's just which side do we start on?
Yeah.
The cost is just so much higher to go to the home side
Oh,
first.
believe me, I'm watching every penny.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So.
It would be so much nicer to do that, but at 59 compared to 36 is difficult to swallow.
We don't have it to swallow.
No, we don't have to swallow either.
Rob, did you also tell me that the first two games on the schedule are not the big crowd
The first
drawing?
one is. The
First
one's
one
a big
is?
draw with George
Oh.
Wythe. The
Oh,
second
okay.
one is Giles, which hasn't been a big draw in the last 2 or 3 years,
Okay.
and then the third one is Galax, and that it just depends on what type of season they're having, and we'll be good again. And George Wythe will be good again. So that'll be the test. The first game will be the test. But maybe things will come in.
Maybe it'll be done.
All right, do we have any other questions or comments? We comfortable encouraging Jack to move along?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, thank you.
As always, will you send that to Ms. Long so she can send it to all of us?
Already have.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Nice.
All
Thanks,
right.
Jack. And Ms. Wood would like to introduce a new menu item for us tonight.
Well, it's not really a new item. I'd like to bring an old item back, and that is the Smucker's PBJ. Since I've been here this is starting my 6th year, we have made a change to do some butter and jelly. I've reached out to all of the Region 7 school districts, and so far, out of 19 of them, 7 of them do serve this, which is Pulaski County, Giles, Bristol, Norton, Washington County, Wythe County. And just, we're not a peanut-free zone at this time because children are bringing peanut butter and jelly, even high school students. So all around, right now I have 13 documented students who are allergic to peanut butter. If all of the information that nurses provide me is up to date. With this, there wouldn't be any possibility for cross-contamination in our kitchen because this product comes in cases, taped, and the product itself, as you know, some of you probably eat this, they're also sealed. And then the sandwich is also sealed also. And so there wouldn't be any cross-contamination. It would be pulling these sandwiches straight out of the cases to let them thaw. There would be no cross-contamination on the line because they are sealed. If everyone, was for this, then we would use our point of sale because for all of the students that have food allergies, I have entered all that information in from the school nurses. So we would only want to serve this during lunchtime, and we would use, the children would put in their numbers, and if that child has that peanut allergy, it's going to pop up on that screen. It's going to tell them that it is severe, and they would look down at that time and make sure that that child did not have that peanut butter, Smucker's peanut butter jelly on their tray. We, in Pulaski County, when I was there, we served this product, and we did provide peanut-free zone tables, and I don't know if in the past that they did that, but we could do that. A lot of times the kids don't like that because they don't like being singled out. And so my goal is to get students to eat, and these sandwiches provide 2 ounces of whole grain, 1 meat alternate, and then we serve a string cheese with it, which provides their other ounce of meat alternate. And so my goal is to get as many children to eat as possible, and the product itself, the name, the product, it sells itself. And so I would really like to bring this product back in so that we can increase the students who are eating, because that's my goal, to feed as many children as we can. And so I know that in the past, I don't know what it was, but we haven't been allowed to serve the peanut butter and jelly. And so out of 1,636 kids, we have 13 kids out of that number that has that peanut allergy. And most all of them are severe, and they do require the EpiPen, which I'm sure is being kept in as a nurse's station. And also my staff is going to go through some training on food allergies so that they can also recognize these types of reactions. So yeah, I would like to bring this back in for our students and, answer any questions or concerns that you guys might have.
Anyone have any questions?
I would just say thank you for obviously being passionate and clearly extremely well prepared for it. I don't want to speak for everyone, but does anyone actually want to prevent a child who wants it from having peanut butter and jelly or string cheese?
I think it sounds like a great idea.
It sounds phenomenal. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you all probably ought to go ahead and approve that. So,
Make it an action item.
I mean, you can make it an action item tonight, or we have another meeting on the 21st, and certainly we'd like to get it there as quickly as possible. But
Well, and that would be great. I also have to talk with my distributor to let them know to increase the number. I will not be doing the strawberry because we do have children that have strawberry allergies. So it would be the grape and peanut butter only.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure, you know, it may take a month or more before we can get the product in, because right now all of the school districts, we have 20-some school districts in our co-op, so they serve a lot of those. So I just have to get my usage in of what I think that we would use, you know, each week. So that may take just a little bit of time to get that product in.
So if you all would approve it tonight, it would allow her to be able
To
to
go ahead
keep
and
it
get
going.
that ball rolling.
Yeah.
All right. So do it.
I'll make a motion that we move this to action item.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move it on down the road.
Hot diggity.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everything you're doing with our nutrition department and making sure our kids are fed and taken care of, and you do a lot to help make sure these kids are ready for their day.
And we appreciate
I
it.
take a lot of pride in it. This is my 31st year, so, and I knew Gloria when I worked at the old Rivermont, so, I do appreciate y'all's support. You don't know how much, and the kids are gonna love you guys for this.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you.
So the budget, and very preliminary because we don't even have a decision yet from the General Assembly as to which one we're using. But we did get some information called the skinny budget last week from the General Assembly. I'm not sure what that means. But basically, from what Carrie and I in meeting together could tell from that is that the state is going to cover the error they had on the calc tool, which is good for us, but it's good for those divisions that it was really going to impact. But you can see, you all have your draft sheet there. And again, this is a draft, and we're going with the House proposed budget because that's the middle of the budgets for Radford. The governor's budget is probably the lowest for Radford, and then the Senate for everybody is a really good budget for education. So we'll have to wait and see what comes of that, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that it's the Senate's budget. Now in the Senate and the House, there's a 7% salary increase for teachers, so we want to honor that. And that's what you see in the first line item there on the left. The budget items pending funding total at about $1,091,000. That is a 7% for our staff, and that's everybody. And as I've told you 100 times too, we do get state funds for that too, but we also have to pay some local funds for that money as well, because a lot of that is SOQ funded and those types of things. Then you have the health insurance increase. We were lucky this year. It was about a 3% increase, which is great because the last 2 or 3 years it's been that, and other divisions are having to deal with, especially if they're fully funded with local choice, they're dealing with 10 to 12% increases. We moved that up to $53,000, or about 6% increase, because we wanted to have some reserves out there in case we had a difficult experience year, meaning that we had employees who had some challenging medical issues. So that was $53,000. We have a outstanding band assistant at the high school and we don't have a middle school band teacher right now, and we do have a lot of other specialties at the middle school level, so we would like to move him to full-time, and I think that would not only help the middle school program but also would help the high school program too. He's been phenomenal and certainly deserves that. And then to help with our kind of critical shortage with bus drivers, and we have amazing bus drivers too, and they've done really well this year. We'd like to make a salary adjustments to 4 custodians who would be interested in getting their CDL to help us if we have situations where, and Mr. Smith can tell you this too, where a bus driver's sick or a car breaks down or something, then we can have our custodian step in and help there. We already have 1 custodian who has her CDL, so we would have 3 others, and we have 3 who are interested in doing that, and Mr. Smith would help would help them do that. So that's the left side of items that we would like for you all to consider. And then what the House proposed budget states is our projected enrollment, and we do project low, just in case enrollment does not what we expect it to do. But you can see there, 1560 is the projected enrollment for our in-person learning students. 1225 is what we have for our virtual students. So those projected state funds are 22 million. The local funds are 6.7 for a total of 28.9 million. Now, I forgot to tell you too, everything that we have from this year, with the exception of the grade level assistants, we're able to bring back. So the grade level assistants were funded by ESSER funds, and those ESSER monies have drawn out, so we don't have those opportunities anymore for that. So that's kind of the initial budget, preliminary budget that we have moving forward. And Carrie does a super job with this, so I'll turn it over to her and see if do you have anything else to add? Okay, thank you. Not just because I listen to you, but that's what we have right now. Once we know more about what budget we're going to actually be given, then I can give you more. And then the 21st is what we hope to have you all to be able to approve. But what questions would you have here that we can look at if we need to over the next 2 weeks?
What other positions were in the beginning when we started getting ESSER funds? I feel like it was more than just grade level assistance.
So we moved some over to the local funds. You probably know better than I do. Yeah, Reed.
Support. We did move those to be funded either locally or through the Title I grant. Let's see, there's school nurse.
We did a school nurse too.
They cover, she's in the base, that person's in the basement on that position. There's 4 school nurses. There was,
Did we have an administrative position too? Was that?
like a testing type of
Yeah.
coordinator
I feel
person,
like
and
there
that,
were a couple.
we have that covered through
Yeah.
local funds. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Was truancy one of them?
It was that type of
Okay.
position, yeah.
Truancy.
Instead of trying to spit them out, could we get a list of those?
Yeah, that's not,
Okay.
that's not difficult at all.
Because I feel like we had discussions about this as only temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're able to pay for, I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's our decision
Mhm.
collectively.
Yeah, we
whether
can get you a
wanna
list
spend
on
the
that.
money on that. I'd just like to see the list. I'm not saying I don't want
So you would
I'm
like,
just-
would you like a list of those positions that were grant funded that are now local? Is that what you'd
Yeah.
like? Okay.
And the money.
That's what I would like. I don't know if you
I think
guys
that's a
want
good
something
idea.
different, but I feel like they've been peppered in throughout the last 2 or 3
Mhm.
years. I'd just like to collectively be able to understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, with the 7% raise, if you all will allow us to do that, first of all, our staff need it and they deserve it. It would also continue to move us to be one of the top salary scales in Region 7. And very competitive, not maybe very competitive, maybe competitive with Montgomery County too.
But won't everyone else go up 7% as well?
Some don't have the ability to do that. So like from what I'm hearing from Pulaski County and Giles is they may not have the ability to do that depending on which budget they have to go by. We're good with either, we're good with really any budget that we have with the funds that we get with Stride. That's a good thing that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And that 7%, are we talking just teachers?
Everybody.
Everybody. Everybody.
Everybody. And we're paying for the health insurance increase, so that doesn't, so everything that's 7% they're getting, they don't have to worry about us fixing the health insurance rate so that it's going to them. It's we're covering that, or you all are covering that as a school division. So, and I think that's important too. We've had, for the health insurance, just so you all know this, with Jefferson Health Plan coming on board, there's a lot of interest. We have 12 divisions now that are interested in getting into the to the health insurance consortium that Rapid City is a part of right now. And that's a good thing for us too. The larger that is, the more funds that we have that will be reserved, and the less opportunities we'll have for a negative experience year that could potentially really hurt a small division like Radford.
And Rob, with the 3 custodians we're looking at gaining their CDLs, I presume that we're picking up the cost of the
Yes, sir.
training and licensing for that as well?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's outside of the budgeted amount here?
That's included in there.
That's included
About
in that
26.
number. Okay.
Are there any other staff that we're needing or that have been requested
So
that we would like to have?
So we send the budget document to the principals, and they fill out what they, and they do a really nice job of that. And of course, there's things like another full-time music or another full-time art and those types of things. But we simply just don't have the funding right now to do that. Those are needs, certainly. Some other things that we have at the high school that I just can't remember off the top of my head. I know there's some personnel stuff that we would like to have, and we've done the boards have done a really nice job in helping us increase our personnel over the last 2 or 3 years, and Carrie's done a super job of being able to keep those the ESSER grant personnel that we had and moving them into local. Again, because of some of the extra money that we have, I think it has helped too. So, you know, those types of, the art teacher, the music teacher, let me see if I can think of some other.
Theater.
Theater assistant, driver's ed, thank you. Anything else there? Yeah, stipend for theater, those types of things that are in the document.
Okay.
What other questions?
Carrie, how difficult would it be to look at the last 5 years and how much salary increase has been given to positions outside? Well, first of all, this, like 2% a year, 3% a year, 4% a year. I just like to see the trend.
No, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's not too hard.
Maybe 5 years is in my head. Maybe y'all want to see further or less. I don't know. And I would also like to understand the bumps we've given outside of that, because we've had certain situations where we've changed titles and added to the salaries and things. I'd like to get an overall view of that as well.
For those individual
Yeah.
positions?
Yeah, just the positions.
So 5 years, the salary increases over the last 5 years, and then the bumps that we've had for moving someone to
Certain
12 month
situations,
or
yeah.
Gotcha.
Is that too difficult?
No.
I mean, I'm not hung up on it. I just like
No. That's not,
because we talk about it all the time, and it's one at a time. And over the last couple years I've been on, I've lost track
You
of
lost
it.
track.
I
Yeah, me
wouldn't
too.
be able to do that. That would be, is that too hard? That's not too hard, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll have to get with Human Resources, and we'll probably have to work on it together.
Okay. I just like to understand it. It's all running together for me.
It is me too.
Yeah.
And it's good to have that historical context as we're
Now, last year we
making
did a
choices.
5.5, and this year a 7, so that would be, and the language in the General Assembly is that we do a 7. Now, I don't know how, because we haven't seen the final of that. I don't know what those divisions are gonna do that can't afford a 7%, and then we can do like a 5%. I mean, can they use what they did last year to try to get to some of that? There's a 12% number floating that over the biennium. So I don't, we'll have to just wait and see what we get.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we're even over top of, so we'd be, 12.5% in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
which is good.
All right, any other questions at this point? All right, thank you for this.
All right, and then we'll move to the daily bell schedule, and we have folks here that are going to help us with that. And I want to start off by saying that this is kind of a three-prong approach between, let me back up. The administrative teams have met a lot to talk about the bell schedule, and because we realize how important it is for us, and we wanted to consider transportation because that's probably the number one thing that we look at first, because we want to transport our children to school. We want to look at the instructional day and how that's impacted. And then we want to look at also what can we do to our staff to provide them. So I serve on right now 4 committees that are looking at teacher retention and recruitment. One with Raff University through a grant, one with the Virginia Association School Superintendents, one with WebPEC, and one with, I'm gonna forget the other one. But after all the surveys that they've sent to, throughout the state, and what they're telling us is, yes, we do need to pay our teachers well and educators well to try to keep them in the profession. Yes, we need to give benefits that are comparable to what other professions have. But the most important thing, and what we're hearing from our teachers, and you heard it tonight twice, is that they need time. And that is the biggest thing for them. They need time. And I go to the schools, I'm in the schools often, and I see them working hard, and just, I understand the parents' view and their concerns about having a 2-hour or 2-day late start. And I was a parent too, and it was difficult, but I see our teachers really, really struggling, and we have phenomenal teachers. Right there's one. And it's just, we have to really make sure that we're giving them the time that they need, because what Lindsay said is right. If they have the time they need, they're going to be better teachers, and it's going to be better for our children. So I want to go through this with you all. You've had it, and you've looked at it, and I've gotten some wonderful questions from you in that, and we have administrators here that can answer questions too. But I do want Mr. Smith to come up and to first give a why for transportation to you, so that you understand where we're coming from transportation. So Jeff, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Been a minute since I've been here.
Thank you.
I got mine.
So tonight, as Rob said, one of the things that you really want your scheduling to drive your transportation, okay? Because our job is to get the kids to the schools and at the time they need to be there. But there are several obstacles for us. Now, we're a division. We have 11 total bus routes. 2 of those are preschool routes for the 3 and 4-year-olds. And 1 is a special ed bus, which has maybe 6 or 7 students on it. That's IEP driven. The other 8 routes are route buses, okay, that run throughout the city, all throughout the city. So, and I'll just start this off by saying, folks, it's really tough to find bus drivers right now. We are fortunate right now that I have got a group of people that they work really, really hard. They get along great together. They get along with me most of the time, but they're a great group of people, and they work really hard, and they're very dedicated to what they do. But we're trying to recruit drivers. We've had the advertisements out there. Mr. Calfee asked a question a little earlier about I think the idea to offer the custodians a little extra money is really good, because that's some incentive for them, and I'm a certified trainer, so we don't incur any cost. If we are to hire them as a driver, I can train them, so we don't have to send them to a neighboring county or anything like that and get charged a fee to train them. So that's going to save us a lot of money. Really difficult right now. I can call my cohorts in Pulaski County, Montgomery County, and I've said, Russell, you have a pool of people, if you've got enough drivers, you have a pool of applicants, and he sort of laughs and said, I've got people in the bus garage driving routes every day. And so it's challenging, it's high pressure, it's a tough job. So, but what I've given to you there, and I couldn't do it. Let me start by saying I want to say thank you to the building administrators and those folks who help me, because if I wake up in the morning and there are 2 drivers who have COVID or they're sick, I call Mike Greco, okay, and I call Ken Keister, okay, and they've kept us afloat, Okay, we've been able to plug the holes enough and everything that we can stay afloat. And then if, you know, they're not familiar with routes, it's hard, so I try to find someone to ride with them and read the route. That's when I call Cole or Michelle or Deb or Kelly or Darden, you know, these people, and say, do you have somebody that you can loan me for a little bit of time and everything that can ride this route with this bus driver to read the turns and so forth. So I think we've been really fortunate this year. We've not had to go virtual at any point in time in the year because we haven't had transportation. Some of the counties around us have. They've had to call virtual days because they didn't have enough bus drivers and couldn't get their kids to school and so forth. We haven't had to do that because of their help and the drivers. So I thank them. But let's take a look at the things that transportation affects as far as schedule is concerned. I've already talked about the limited number of both drivers and buses available for routes. Right now, as I said, we've got 8 route buses. One of the buses that we use for preschool is loaned to us by New River Community Action. They were kind enough. We had so many preschoolers that they wouldn't fit on one bus. And so we contacted them last year, and they said, yeah, you're helping us out, we'll give you a bus. And so they've been really good to us with that. So buses and drivers, the pay raise, the 7% pay raise, that will help keep us competitive, okay, with our neighboring divisions. When you're trying to recruit drivers, you have to, they're going to look at how much money they're going to make, per hour driving, and for extracurriculars and those kinds of things, and for insurance. That helps us when you give them a raise. That helps us retain what we have and also to recruit and remain competitive. Okay? Overcrowding of buses due to increase in ridership. We've had a large increase in ridership over the last few years. It's interesting. One of the things, I saw a report on TV the other night about this and everything. Fewer and fewer teenagers are choosing to get driver's licenses. And I don't know the reason for that. Maybe they just, but I remember waiting till I was 15 years and 6 months old so I could get a learner's, and I counted down the days until I was 16 years old, and the first day I was 16, I wanted to drive the car to school. Now it's not a factor for them. They just don't seem to, just not that important to kids these days so much.
They got their friends in their pocket.
Yeah.
They don't have to go out and see them. You can talk to them all night long.
They do. And so all those things has combined to, it's increased our ridership. And with the schedules, now here's where the scheduling part comes in. With the schedules that we have this year and the times that the schools start being so close together and the times that the schools release being so close together, we've had no alternative but to have the high school and middle school and the elementary all ride together. Now, I will say that when I was in the Stone Ages, when I was in school, we did that. I mean, I was a first grader on the bus with 12th graders and everything like that, and I got the class rings in the top of the head and all that business. But but it's changed a lot since then, and so to me that is not optimal. I mean, we've had to do that this year. We've made it work. It's tough. Some of the buses are very, very crowded. In fact, today, one of our buses now, we've had to add a couple of kids, and now we're running over capacity a little bit, and we're going to have to, switch a few kids to another bus to make sure that we stay within compliance as to how many we have on the buses and so forth. So the ability for us to separate those routes, to get the high and middle kids on one route, get them to school, and then turn around and go back and get the elementary kids and get them to school and separate that. It helps with the overcrowding, and it also helps with some of the issues that we've had with some behaviors and so forth on the buses this year. That's been challenging at times, and I'm not trying to say that the only reason that's happened is because the buses are too crowded or very crowded, but it is a factor. It's not the only factor, but it is a factor. And if we can, remove that and help with that, then I think that it will be good for everybody. Safety of students as it relates to morning pickup. So 6 months out of the year now, we're running on daylight savings time. It starts again this Saturday night. We'll finish the school year when we start school. We start school in August, and it goes through November right now with that. It's dark in the mornings. And if the federal government decides to go to daylight savings time year-round, which I understand there's a possibility that they may do that, it's going to be dark every month of the year when we pick up kids. So I can tell you our routes right now, another thing is we could run our routes a little bit, we wouldn't have to leave quite as early. Our routes right now, we've got buses leaving the parking lot back here at 6:35. Okay, and we're picking up kids, and I'm picking up preschool kids. My first pickup is at 6:55. And I mean, when you're on daylight savings time, it's really dark. 3-year-olds, 3 and 4-year-olds. Okay, and it's really dark. And so I just feel like, if we can start, the older kids have the earliest routes and so forth, then that's a lot better. And again, we don't have as many kids on those beginning routes. The routes won't be as long. It won't take us as long to run the routes. We don't need to leave as early. We're not picking up as many kids, so that would really help us. We've talked about behavioral issues a little bit. Turnaround time required to finish one route and begin another. It is a factor. I mean, it will take us, and with the schedule that you've got proposed, that gives our drivers enough time to pick up the kids, deliver, and then have enough time to flip that around, go back and get the elementary kids and get them back to school on time without, having kids running in as the bells ringing or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. So the turnaround time, it takes us about a half hour, give or take a little bit, in order to get the one group delivered and then run the next routes and get the other kids delivered. So the new schedule to me, it's for us and for my drivers, it's optimal. I mean, it will make life a lot easier. I don't know how it will affect numbers. We'll see how it will affect numbers. I know one of the things at the beginning of each year, it is crazy the first week of school because, people are calling, the buses are overcrowded, and it's too, I get it, but we don't know most of the time who's going to be riding. I mean, we go down streets, and I tell the drivers, you see kids standing out there, pick them up. So we're talking about this year having the parent, and they're supposed to be doing this anyway, but all of them don't do it, of registering their kids for the bus. So we have an idea of, and so we're going to try to make a concerted effort, more than we have, and we'll figure out how to do that, of trying to make sure that they register their kids to ride the bus, so we'll have a better grasp of numbers before the year starts. So that would be a big help. The other thing we could do to help with numbers, walkout zones. The state allows those. I would never do this, but the state says up to age 10, the walkout zone can be a mile. Over the age of 10, it can be a mile and a half. I don't want any little kids, walking. But, if we have some cases where, like at grade, right now we have middle school and high school, the walkout zone is a half mile, okay? We'll see, I'd like to keep that and see what effect that would have and so forth in the enforcement of that on ridership. So I definitely don't want preschoolers, kindergartners, or preschools door to door anyway, but I wouldn't want any small children at McCard having to, obviously having to walk no matter how close they live. And so we're essentially talking about Bell Heath through the high school, maybe looking at some things. Like right now, we're picking up some kids at Copper Beach that are going up to Bell Heath. Okay, and I get why the parents want that, but it does play a factor in
Numbers.
route time and numbers. And we've got some kids that live in Monroe Terrace that could probably walk down the woods like they used to behind and walk down to Bell Heath, or walk even down the sidewalks now and come to Bell Heath, some of the older kids and everything, and be fine. But we're picking them up, and it affects ridership and it affects time. So, questions?
Jeff, thank you for sharing everything. I've got a couple questions just came up during the conversation. How many buses right now do we have in the fleet?
Well, are you talking about route buses, or are you including
Total.
things like activity buses and so forth?
Total that we have on.
All right, so the one bus is owned by New River Community Action, so that means we have 10 route buses that we own, and then we've got bus 4, 7. I think we have 12 or 13. Yeah, I've got a list and everything. But
12 or
just
13
count
total?
Total, that includes our activity buses that we only use to take teams and so forth. Yes.
All of those buses in service or could be in service if need be? I know it's
yes,
ideal.
That's hard because
Sure.
you know, we've got teams that leave before the end of the school day or right at the end of the school day, and those other buses are out on route. We couldn't dedicate those to a route because then we wouldn't have things for our extracurriculars.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's none that we have in the fleet that aren't serviceable or usable for the intended purpose.
No.
Okay.
No. Now some of them are getting old.
Sure.
You know, and they're getting miles and so forth, and we've put in a grant to try to get 3 electric buses.
Okay.
But if we get that, we have to turn in 3 of the diesel buses.
Sure.
And I've told Mr. Graham, if we get those, you know, I talked with some people in other divisions, those buses just need to be dedicated to route buses in the city. I know one of the things, concerns with electric buses in some of the counties, some people I talk to, is if they live in counties that has a lot of elevation change and so forth, the batteries are drained quicker, and I don't want to get into putting kids on an electric bus going to an activity and, you know, deal with that. So, but some of the buses are getting older, and we do need to replace those.
In an ideal circumstance, to cover what you have right now with your route requirements, even say on the high end of ridership, if you could add more buses to the fleet, would that solve the issue as well as the schedule change?
The schedule change, I'm hopeful, will solve a problem.
I understand that.
If you remained on the schedule that we have now, I could really use 2 more buses and 2 more drivers.
Okay.
And that would, you know, I think, would make things much more comfortable. But we just don't have it right now.
Sure.
So.
Maybe not something you could answer. I certainly can't. Do we have any idea what a new bus costs?
A new bus.
Which kind?
A new bus, diesel bus.
Diesel. I mean.
$105,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the electric are a little bit more than that.
Sure.
Because you have to get the charging stations.
Well, I was going to say we'd have to add the infrastructure in to cover the electric bus as well, which.
Yes.
Okay.
And hiring.
Thank you.
Have we looked at cost analysis of savings in diesel fuel versus putting in the charging station?
We haven't looked at that, but others have, and it's a cost savings to get the electric buses. Now they're a little bit more to maintain too, because of all the infrastructure, like Mr.
And
Kaufman
we do.
said,
Now I'll
too.
tell you, obviously, when diesel goes up, you know, we incur more cost. Obviously, we do get a price break on that. You know, the city, we do get a price break on that. We don't pay the pump price for the diesel and so forth, but there is a savings from what I understand from some of the divisions that have them and so forth. The initial cost of installing the charging stands and everything, there's an upfront cost like that, but that's absorbed by you know, by the time that you run those buses for a while, it's, you know, you make that money up pretty quickly.
What is the schedule to get another bus? I'm sure we have some type of fee on schedule.
Yeah, I can use it now.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're trying to
yeah,
get
I
We're
mean,
already
that's-
overdue.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
trying to get one.
Yeah,
This,
we're ready.
if we have carry forward money to do it, we're getting one. Now, the grant that Mr. Smith's talking about is available, I think, right at the end of March, and we'll use we've had great success with our grant writers that we've had to put that together, so we're hopeful if that grant comes through, we won't have to use carry forward money to buy. We'll just take those electric buses that we have, but it's on our carry forward list to purchase a bus for.
And we'll turn in if we get that, we'll turn in the three most oldest and ragged ones we have, obviously, you know, get rid of those.
I'm confused by what you just said. So an electric bus
So if we
is
get
on
the
the
electric
table.
buses through the grant, which our grant writers feel like we'll get because of the rurality is what they
Okay.
call it that we have, then we won't have to use carry forward money to get a diesel bus. But if we don't get the grant, then we'll
I think
have to-
Lynchburg got like 25.
Yeah,
Does the grant cover the infrastructure?
it does.
Oh, nice. And how many buses would it be?
Up to 3.
Up to
for
3,
our
and then we would,
size-
so
for our
one
size of
for
school.
one
Yeah, we
Trade.
would have to turn in 3 of the diesel buses.
to get 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only gas bus we have right now is the one that Community Action lets us borrow, one of the preschool buses, it's gas.
Okay.
The rest of them-
But then you'd have to figure in the cost, like if we were buying another bus on top of the fleet that we've already got, the cost of, training, hiring, keeping drivers, which we're already a struggle
That's a
to
struggle, yes.
maintain who we have now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we didn't get the grant, and you and I haven't talked about this, but I think we wouldn't get rid of a bus if we bought
No.
one with our own money. A new
No,
one.
I would hang on
Yeah.
just in case. I mean, you know.
That's what I thought too.
All right.
That's where they're going is electric.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys read a lot about the trucking industry. But
Mm-hmm.
2035, majority of our fleets will be electric.
Yeah.
And that's not that far away, and our buses last longer than that.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got buses that are 2001, 2002. Yeah. We don't take them far.
Yeah.
but we
Yeah.
have 'em.
Which seems to be optimal for electric buses.
Mhm. Yep.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Smith?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff. So you all have had this document too, and let me say, I want to recommend that we look at having the elementary school have the 2 late starts, and I think I've told you my reasoning behind that. I just feel like that our staff that's in here tonight, you know, we have such a wonderful staff, and I don't want to lose them, and this would really help with their I've heard mental health twice tonight from 2 really good teachers, and the ones that are sitting in here are also just as good, and we don't want to lose them, and this would help keep them, which is very important, but it's also what's right to do by them with planning too. Right now, the high school has about 405 minutes of planning. The elementary at what we have now is far less than that, so that's not really equitable, and we need to be more equitable with that. So that having the 2-hour late start would equal out those planning times for both secondary and elementary, which should be consistent like that. I get the concern with community. I completely understand that, and we're going to do our best to try to provide childcare, good childcare, in the morning for our elementary folks through either the 21st Century Grant, or if we can't get the 21st Century Grant has gotten very, very competitive lately, and a lot of people apply for it. But we have a good team that's working together with the YMCA to have that program and also have after-school remediation. The morning program would be a priority for their working families. The afternoon program would be for our disadvantaged families to have. If we didn't get the grant, then we have contacted Adventure Club. I think that they would be interested in working with us. Now that's a for-profit organization that we would have to charge for both in the morning and after school. But Pulaski and Montgomery seem to have very good success with that. We don't have to worry about meeting appropriate required video E instructional time because we are way over what we are required to do with the schedule that you all have in your hands there. We go by hours. 990 hours is what we need. We're well over that. In fact, we're about 13 to 14 days over that if you count the time. So I've said kind of what I want to say. I'd love to hear your all's questions that you have, but we had everybody here come tonight too because we presented, each of the principals have presented to their staff, has gotten feedback. We sent out a survey to the elementary staff, and we had a strong majority finish it, and it was option 1 was 19.8%, option 2 was 18.5%, and option 3, which was the 2 late start times, was 61.7%. Sure.
When we were all meeting too, we talked about maybe doing early releases, and we've done those in the past, but one of the things that we heard from our teachers is that, listening to some of them, is that by the time they pour all of their energy and passion into their day in the morning, by the time the early releases come around, they're either eaten up with meetings or they just don't have the capacity to be able to do the planning and things that's necessary for them. So keeping the same schedule at the high school so that families would understand that everyone in their family would run on the same schedule would also be an advantage for them, while still also trying to help with the teachers with their planning and the equity between the elementary and the high school too. So we did really talk to our teachers, we talked to our representatives with the REA, we had them meet, and it was a really big compromise of trying to figure out what can we do in an innovative way to kind of meet all the needs that we have right now. We don't want to lose the teachers we have. We have amazing teachers right now, and they're feeling the brunt of a lot of things that we really have to figure out how to help them with.
Thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong here, one of those days was unencumbered for staff, right? We weren't going to have any, I mean, one of those late starts would be directly for staff to have planning or co-planning or grade level planning or cross-curricular planning or things of that nature, so we wouldn't interrupt them with RTIs or IEPs or 504s or things of that nature. And then the other day would be for those types of meetings, so that we're not having to have them meet after school, like you heard, I believe Lindsay or maybe it was
Miss
Miss Watson said, you know, she'd spent so many days in those meetings too, which we have to do. I mean, children have 504s, children have IEPs, and we're required to follow them, correct?
Unless you want me calling you.
So I know you have questions. Again, we're committed to provide solid child care. We have staff who have children who, you know, in the past we've provided their own child care for them too, but you know, they're going to have to figure that out as well. But you can see that almost 62% of them at the elementary level really would like to see something like this come about. So I'll turn it over to you all for questions that you may have. And I may need to have some help from all of the administrators sitting in here too, because this has been a team focus for us in the last month or so.
With the Junior Bobcat program, you said in cooperation with YMCA or with Adventure Club, does that mean they would be staffing it? They would provide the staff for that?
Not if we were to get the 21st century. If we were to get the 21st century grant, we would probably staff that with our staff. It's kind of what we're doing right now.
I'll speak a little bit to that.
Okay.
It would actually be with that partnership that they would help with some volunteers. So we would provide some staff, but they would also have, was it through Virginia Tech and Radford University, some partnerships. We are also looking at partnering with NRBCS with that. So there would be several college students and opportunities. We're really using that to help them with internship hours as well, so that we can kind of bridge that gap with some things that they need for their study. So trying to work with community partners to staff that.
Now the Adventure Club, Glory, would be, they would be in charge of the hiring and firing types of things. We wouldn't. They're actually a company that comes into the school division and provides that service.
Okay.
It's a for-profit organization.
I don't really have any other questions because Mr. Graham and I met Thursday and we talked about this for a long time, and I've emailed questions and suggestions since then. And I'm a teacher. I mean, I might be retired. I know planning time is sacred. It was sacred for me. And these are unprecedented times. I can't imagine dealing with what you're dealing with. I truly can't. In talking to parents, you know, I know it's a scheduling hardship, and I hope that Junior Bobcats can alleviate that. So I guess just what I want to say is I've done my due diligence, and the bottom line for me is quality instruction for our students, and we do that the way we have to.
Okay, anybody else have questions or comments?
Well, may I bring up one of the things that you talked about too, because it was, you know, in I guess a world where you have all the money that you want and all the personnel that you want, you could, because one of the things that Ms. Boyd brought up was, could we provide 2 planning periods during the school day and not have to worry about late starts? And I told her too, and I think she understands that we could do that if we had another 25 teachers. And we could do that too if you know, there was a little more time during the day, but simply just as a small school division with a limited budget, we have a very hard time doing that and scheduling that. And you know, I think it's a really good idea, and maybe someday we'll get to that. But right now it's difficult.
I'll speak to the sub shortage that we've had this year. That's been very challenging. We do unfortunately have teachers that sometimes lose their planning.
Yeah, and cover.
Or our specialty teachers are having to help and cover classrooms because we have 22 kindergartners sitting there, no teacher for the day. So, you know, we have to make a sacrifice, which is challenging, and we're trying to pitch in when we can and work schedules so that people aren't losing time. But that's been very hard.
Thank you, Jill.
And Ms. Boyd, I'll mention this too. I'm sure you remember recess. You go into other counties, they have recess aides, and they have lunch aides that cover lunch. Our teachers don't have any of that. So if they only have one specialty per day, that's 30 minutes. But by the time you walk them through the line, you get them their stuff that they need. Some teachers are getting 15 minutes a day.
Oh, yeah, I do understand that. And when I suggested that creative scheduling to work in extra planning, it was just referencing a time when we were under review at McHarg. And we had a scheduling genius who worked out so that we had 2 planning times every day. But you know, if that's not an option under the current circumstances, then.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
My concern, and first off, never misunderstand, my first priority is always the students. Second is our teachers, because without you all, there's no reason to be in the building, frankly. Thirdly, as a parent, I actually was sitting in an office during COVID because I was an essential worker along with many others. I had to accept the resignation of 2 of my very best employees because of a change in their school schedule. They were long tenured, fantastic, well-loved, respected employees. And they had to leave the company because we could not accommodate a schedule necessary due to our business needs to cover their family needs. And they made the same decision. My wife and I had talked about it, and I would have made in an instant. You know, family comes first. I had to watch these people walk away because their schedule for their students and their children required them to be there. It's not always, I mean, we always talk about including what is necessary for all of our students and all of our families, really. All of our teachers, we all have different unique needs. Not every student and every family is comfortable going to a preschool program into a group environment that's just not suitable for them. So I have a great deal of concern. I've seen some information come back where younger students, especially, their primary information absorbing hours, if you want to call it that, is the early part of the day. You know, so are we really doing a service to everyone and taking that away 2 days a week? I have a concern about that. I'm not saying that, you know, I would reject it. I'm just saying I think the voices we've heard from others in the community have been, I didn't hear about this anywhere except social media. I'm a parent. I think this is something we need to hear about. I agree. You know, as much as our teachers say these students become mine in the classroom, and that's true, my heart broke whenever I heard about Coach Hicks. He was a fantastic, lifelong inspiration to me, not just as a team player, but as the man that I've grown to be. He was my teacher. He's my coach. He's my mentor. I got that because I was in school and because I paid attention, I listened, and I respected the person that was there. That is that, you know, he always referred to those of us that were under his tutelage as his boys. That's the way it was. Even as grown men, we were his boys. I don't want to ever take that away from anyone, but the point being, at the end of the day, our children are ours as parents. You know, are we really, how many people are we impacting? My question, how many parents and how many families are we impacting in a negative way by making this schedule change 2 days a week? And I think the answer is we don't know. We didn't ask. And that's my question. You know, how many people are we impacting? How many families are we negatively impacting? Are we going to have people who make a decision? Do they change school districts, which I've seen happen? I know you have as well. Do they go to virtual education only? Do they go to homeschool if that's an option in a co-op or whatever? Are we going to lose students over this? And how is that impacting them long term? And is it fair? Is it equitable? You know, ultimately I have to reside with I don't know, because we didn't ask. So just my opinion there.
So would you be proposing that we send out a survey to the community to get the input of,
frankly, we did a couple years ago when we made a schedule change. We involved the community. We gave them the option to vote on it and to give their opinion, and we didn't this time. Okay. You know, I think that's, I am in the pew of transparency and open, direct communication to our families, our community. I think we owe that to them. We've done it before. The precedent was already set, you know, to utilize verbiage that's been brought up recently. We skipped it this time.
I agree, transparency is huge.
Yeah.
We ran into the big roadblock with the stadium because of that. And, you know, I put it out there on social media, on my school board page, you know, hey, heads up, this may be coming. Because I felt like parents needed to know that.
So is that something we can do? Can we
Sure.
put out a survey?
And we did not do it because we didn't want not to do it. We wanted you all to hear first about what we were proposing too. And I don't mean any disrespect by this statement whatsoever, but I'm gonna say it because I feel like I need to. We do cater to our community. We try to do that because we're a small school division, and you know, that's important to us. But we're in a very critical crunch time right now where it is more important for us to be instructional leaders in our school division rather than, and this is the only term I'm going to, the only one I can think of, rather than child caregivers. We are responsible for teaching children, and it is our responsibility to make sure that our teachers have everything they need in order for us to provide them with the culture and environment they need to get these children to be successful. And this is what we're hearing from them. And it's my job to relay that to you all to make sure that you all understand how important that is, that we are hearing from our teachers that this is absolutely critical, and they don't complain much here in Radford City, not like where I've been before. And when they say something like that, when you have dedicated teachers who stand up here and are emotional with what they're saying, I think we have to hear it. And we have to do what we feel is right by them in order so they can do they're our best asset for our children. It's not me, it's not Daniel, it's not our administrators, although they are wonderful at what they do. It's our staff, it's our teachers who take care of our children, and if they're happy and have everything and the resources they need, they're going to continue to do a fantastic job. This is what they're asking us to do, and I'm behind it 100%. We can send out a survey, that's not a problem, to the community to get their input. We're certainly not trying to not include them at all. We appreciate them and want to hear from them too. But when we get that back, if they, and I know what they're going to say, Chris, too, I do. I know they're going to say it's hard. This is hard for me, this is a hard schedule because I have young kids and I work. I know that. But is that going to change our mind as far as what we want? It's not going to change my mind as far as what I want to do as a superintendent with our staff, because we're hearing from them and that's what they need.
And I appreciate that, Rob, and I appreciate your candor and your honesty, but it's also, we all have to know that it's our job to be the liaison between the community
and I understand that,
and the schools. So we're not opposing forces here, we really aren't.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, all voices need to be heard.
And a survey is not hard for us to do, so yeah, we can do that.
Like I said, we've done it before.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'm saying is, I think we should do it again.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the questions needs to be, how can we help you in order for us to do this? Because I understand it's dire circumstances in terms of
part of it would
recruiting
be,
teachers.
would you
I
need
understand
childcare
that.
in the morning? Would you
Yeah.
need,
Sure.
I think finding that information out will help us to
Well,
know if we get this grant, how many kids would this be,
Sure.
would we be talking about maybe?
Well, and the other child cares that we have, and you all
Yeah.
know this too, they're full.
Yeah.
They are full with Relic and Grace a Child and Rock Club. They all have busy programs too. So, it is. But yeah, the survey's not going to be.
Yeah, and I think keeping it very simplified with the options that are truly on the table, not all of the options that have been presented, since some of them are not what's recommended. It's sort of either keep it how it is or this 2-hour delay and not get confusing with everything else. Because I know sometimes I've been overwhelmed when there's way too many options.
Yeah, we can't send them this.
No, we can't send them this.
Yeah.
But
we can send them something that's very, short and sweet and to the point.
I think even just boil it down to opening time, closing time. These days, send it out. Perhaps even mention, the intermediate and high school, we're recommending to stay the same.
Well, and I think you all are okay with the middle and high school schedule. I'm not saying,
Sure.
I kind of feel like you're okay with that, with it staying the same, because we had committed to doing that for 2 years.
Yeah.
But this would be a change for the elementary, so.
I think my only question was about the start time. If we had the delayed opening Wednesday, Thursday.
For elementary?
For elementary. Talking about Mr. Smith's being able to stagger times. When I was looking at it, and I will say that my eyes crossed, what was that staggering considered in there for the transportation?
It is.
Okay.
It is, and that is on the elementary added 2 additional planning times, and then the sheet below it you can see has the times on there.
Okay.
I think what you're saying is, are they staggered?
Are they staggered on the late start times too?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they
would be, but I think somehow when I was looking at the numbers, it looked like it was the same exact time, like 8 to,
Yeah, no,
whatever it was, looked like it was the
that
same.
as well. Are they staggered enough? Was my
Yeah, are they
question.
staggered
That's-
enough to be able to meet
We
transportation
staggered them
needs?
20 minutes, Jeff, right? It's 20 minutes? Yeah, we'll make it. Yeah.
Okay. But it would still.
We'll make it.
We'll make it. on
Vote of
two
confidence.
wheels.
We appreciate it.
Would it still be, if we were to do the staggered and delayed, would it still be that the older students would be arriving earlier than the younger?
Yes.
Okay.
So the stagger on Monday for this schedule that we're proposing would be the same stagger on Wednesday, just delayed.
Doop, 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 doop. And it would still be the older students busing first and the.
Change that because then everybody gets confused.
Right,
We
right,
don't
right,
know
right.
we're picking up, the people we're picking up don't know we're picking up.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a thing in the morning as well that, or a thing in the afternoon for the older students. I don't know. For who's there in the afternoons to be able to take care of the little ones, or you're there in the morning to take care of little ones. If you're an older sibling, that's always going to be a difficult adjustment. You know, that there may be some time.
We tried to keep it as consistent as we could.
Yeah.
All around.
Yeah.
My concern also is, I mean, to Jenny, to your point, if you have multi-children in a household, you have a bus showing up, you know, okay, you need to go out now, you need to sit and wait.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they already do it.
Yeah,
I mean, they've been doing it. The kids in my neighborhood,
coordinating
I see
that as
this
it goes
group
along
and then
is
that
still,
group.
you know, randomly you're going to have, especially in the first couple weeks, you're going to have a child get on a bus that shouldn't have been there.
That
Then
happens every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other really good thing, and Jeff, is this, make sure I say this right. So right now we have a mixture of elementary and high school. That wouldn't happen next year, correct? And that would help a ton too.
And then the keeping it consistent so that the little, you know, with Wednesdays and Thursdays this past year, it has been more confusing because, you know, I would all of a sudden be woken up because the bus was there and I went, oh no, that's not my kids because they're, but it was that panic on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
I'll be talking to somebody about the schedule and then I'll forget Wednesday, Thursday's different for the elementary and the middle and high.
Yeah.
I've got to go back. I mean, I've always got to keep
Yeah.
that in my mind. So the consistency factor would really help.
So, you know, it would be an adjustment, and I, you know, talking about what the teachers are asking for and what they need, and to be, you know, with equal planning time between the younger classes where they do have more class preps. You know, you've got every subject as opposed to just math or just English. You know, being able to meet those teachers' needs, being able to be a leader in this way that, you know, there aren't other school systems that do this locally that we know about. But if it works and it works well and we're able to retain these wonderful teachers, other school systems may look to us.
Well, we're an innovative school division.
We are.
Like to be innovative.
There are no others doing it?
I don't know. I haven't checked that out. I know in Montgomery County, and Michelle and Kelly can speak more to this, that they go, I mean, they're late. 9:15, so now there's school divisions around the country right now that are looking at the 4-day model. And so you're gonna start, and the reason they're looking at the 4-day model is not to have 3 days off, is to give our teachers the time that they need in order to do what they do to make the kids successful. So you're seeing that a lot. And we actually have, Grayson County is looking at that for next year here in Region 7. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
There are some shifts being considered.
I like it too. I do.
I have a couple of comments. I went through this one time in a school. I feel like when you're in this business long enough, you go through a little bit of everything. So it isn't new. I remember the superintendent in our division. It was a larger division, and I won't say where, but the superintendent had his 30 years in, so he could say this. Didn't bother him, but parents spoke, and he said, we are not a day care facility. We're a school division. We're doing it now. So I've seen it happen, but I fully support it, but I'm not willing to vote on it tonight. And I'll tell you why. I do for myself require a couple of things if everyone agrees. Mental health was brought up a couple of times, but something else that was brought up a couple of times was uninterrupted planning time. So if we do this, the only way I will vote for it is if we write policy to say that the time will be uninterrupted.
Yeah, protect it.
We are policymakers. Retroactive for middle and secondary schools too. That's the only way I'll vote for it. The other thing I want to see is detailed child care plan. We're not a daycare facility, but I feel like we're talking about, in theory, this could happen. I'd like to see what we actually plan to do. So we can communicate that to the community. So full support, but I do think we need to do a little more homework and say this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. So when I say policy, if
Yeah, I know what you mean. We can't do VSBA on it, but we can put a local school procedure
exactly.
together.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's one day is protected and the others for me, have a plan. That's all I'm asking for. Because
What'd you say the second was?
Child care plan.
Child
yeah,
care,
what do we plan to do? Not because what I'm hearing are options, and that's fine the first time it's presented. But I'd like to actually hear this is what we're going to do. This is option 1, 2, 3. Which one do you want? This is what it costs. Just a little more detail.
Okay.
But I do think our teachers need it. I'd love to see a 4-day model plan come across their desk this year.
I would too.
I love that, but that would be tough. I
March
get it.
21st.
I do like that for multiple reasons, but I won't get into that.
Hey, we get a lot of teachers.
Yeah. So what I'm asking for basically is let's put some meat behind it, and let's if we're going to say it, let's do it right and present it to us the way it's going to be, and let us vote on it.
Okay.
And then I'm okay.
And then the survey.
And a survey, because I think.
Yeah,
Please.
I think data's always good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I understand not doing that before we see it.
Yeah.
So I totally get the timing, and I'm not upset about it. But I think our community needs a voice for sure, and we may hear something that changes our mind. You never know. But for
You
me,
can always throw in the wild card of the 4-day and see if it sticks anywhere.
yeah, for me, if the reason we're doing it is for teachers, let's write policy to protect it.
I agree.
And so no one has the ability to say, yeah, I'm sorry, we're going to have a faculty meeting.
That's
Emergencies come up, I get it. So, but I would just like to make sure if we're doing it for the teachers, let's really do it for the teachers.
Agree.
And let's put some meat behind the bone or on the bone of it.
Dr. Ray, for the daycare, the only caveat that I would say to that is that the grant that we're writing right now is due April 7th. We might not hear about 21st Century Grant until August. So we could have a backup plan as far as adventure care, but we won't be able to, definitively say that we're going to be able
Right.
to offer that until we get the grant.
But
And I think that's common sense. If
What
the
we can-
timing's not right, at
We'll have
least,
to get the 21st Century Grant so you all see it.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah.
see what that is.
Yeah.
Or even just communicating to the community that that's our goal, that's
That
our
you're
hope.
exploring options of
Yeah.
ways to help.
But if we don't get it, we can't afford the other option. That's what I'm saying. We have a plan.
Make sure we have the
Hope for the
associated
best,
cost
plan
for
for
that.
the worst is kind of my thought.
Well, the other option would cost our families too.
It would,
The
yeah.
21st Century would not.
Yeah.
Well, that's something
Well,
I think
that
we
throws
also have to
something else on the
understand.
table to
It does.
discuss for sure.
It does.
There's, I don't want to say a substantial amount, but a substantial amount of our citizens in Radford that couldn't afford any additional cost. So I think we have to be sensitive to that also when we're looking at this. I think the reality would be if we're putting in a schedule and a practice that's going to require this change on our families, we have to be prepared. If we don't get the grant, how do we accommodate for those families with that associated cost?
Well, and I think that's what Mr. Graham was bringing
Yeah.
up, that we aren't a daycare
Yeah.
facility, and that we understand and we're doing everything we can to mitigate any costs
Yeah.
and issues in finding
that's
that.
a concern that I have. Is
course.
that we have done that now since the pandemic. We needed to do it, but now we need to get back to teaching and learning and to making sure that our staff has everything they need. And you said it. I have 30 years too. I still don't want to say that like that.
No, I didn't
But
mean it like
that's
that.
kinda what
I
I'm-
couldn't
that's
believe
kinda
the
what I was-
superintendent said that. I was like,
kind of what I,
Yeah.
it's
and I was in these guys' chair. I was like, whoa. But
But no, I think I appreciate that. I think we are at a point where we support those who are going to be successful in getting our children successful and listening to them too, making sure that we've covered everything like you all are asking us to do. But when it comes down to it, for me, when I hear them and hear how critical it is, I have to support that. I mean, I really do. And we are a school institution. We do have daycares, really good daycares that I serve on boards with in the city, and there's options too, and many of them have subsidized opportunities for families as well. So those are options we have too.
Ms. Swing, did you have anything else to add?
I don't need to repeat what's already been said.
Got it. Was there anybody else with any other questions or comments?
Thank you for the detail. It's a lot to absorb, so I'm glad you don't want to make it an action item because I'm not ready.
No.
But,
Well, and I don't.
Very full support. I'd just like to see the.
That's what
detailed
we need, because
plan.
you all have approved the calendar already, so what we need is similar to what you gave Jack. It's just your support. I don't think it needs to be an approval, just your support, because you've already got the calendar is what you've already approved. This is part of the calendar, so it would be your all support for this, but we want to have that too, so. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Think about, I've been the last month at every job fair I could be at, trying to recruit new teachers. We went to Radford University a couple weeks ago, trying to recruit brand new teachers. Like someone said, they're just not there. So the building this schedule is for teachers, and we can recruit some teachers from Montgomery County, Pulaski County, Giles County, that will move into our division, move here. That's what we need. I know I've got two young kids, and I know it will be hard on my family, but we'll figure it out. But I'm more here looking at what's in the programs at Tech and Radford University. There's not a lot of folks going into this job, so we got to figure out a way to keep teachers and recruit some teachers, some veteran teachers is what we need. We have a lot of great teachers here, a lot of young teachers. We need some veterans. And I think this would help get some folks to move in and come to our school division.
If you get a chance, this morning on the Today Show, there was a piece about the critical teaching shortage across our country, and it was very well done. And young teachers that are leaving the profession because it's simply just too difficult. I mean, young, really good folks that could be professional, but in Louisiana and Maryland, those states have lost more teachers this year than they have in 3 decades. So it's a problem that we need to try to, and we're doing, the state is doing there's some apprenticeship grants out there, and there's opportunities to help pay for classes, but it's difficult. And we've lost some good teachers in Rapid City, and that doesn't, and when you were in, Ms. Boyd, we didn't lose many.
It was competitive to get
very competitive to get in here.
So what else is there out there? We're saying we're going to give them more time, 2 days a week at least. We want to give them a raise.
A bonus.
A bonus. What about the 4-day week? What else can we do? What diving board can we jump off of to say, all right, we're all in. We want to attract all the teachers in this area. We want to be the division that turns people away.
So there's a county that's already implemented the 4-day week in Wisconsin. So maybe what we need to do is go out to Wisconsin and visit that county.
I don't want to speak for everyone, but
it appeals to me as a former teacher. I would have loved that.
I work in an industry where we're at MIT and Harvard recruiting, and we're having to let people work remote and do all kinds of things now that we wouldn't have even considered 3 years ago. Yeah. You're going to work on site, and you're going to live here. You're going to come to Dublin, Virginia. Well, now people are like, nah, forget that. And they want to raise. I want to work from home. So if we're following what's happening, quite frankly, teachers are professionals. Every one of them has a degree, and most of them are masters, some doctoral degrees. But my point being, let's treat them like the rest of the industry is being treated now. What else can we offer?
I think it's a good idea to look at that. Maybe not for next year.
I'm not saying let's vote on it. I'm saying put it in front of us.
But certainly to do some research on it to see what we can find out from that too. And the one piece that worries me about that is the required amount of time that the DOE. I don't know how that would work, and that's what we need to.
That 990, 180, I get it. That's part of it. Yeah. But if someone's figured it out, still smart. We may not have to reinvent the wheel. I don't know, but with innovative scheduling, innovative recruiting, good salaries. What else could we offer? And if everyone in this area wants to work in Radford, let's make it that. Let's start turning people away. It'd be great to
to have those.
Have
we
40
used to have for an
applicants like we
opening at
used
the
to
ele-
have.
Yeah,
I
we
understand.
had 26 and 27 applications for one job.
What I'm saying is dream.
Yeah.
Dream and bring it to us. Let us at least have the opportunity to say no, because I think we're in desperate times, and we need to look at innovative things. Let's be an innovative school, not only with what we're teaching. Let's be innovative with how we treat our teachers.
Agreed.
And our staff. So I'm off my high horse. I'm sorry. You guys can
Sounds
tell where
good.
I am, but I want to see that stuff instead of it being a passing conversation and see about it on the Today Show in June.
Yeah.
Let's be on the Today Show in June.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
All right, I'll be quiet and turn my mic.
I think to that point, I mean, what I was ineffectually trying to convey is, are we looking at this to be sufficient? Or are we looking at this to resolve the problem? To Jody's point, is this enough? Do we need to go further? Would our community support that? Can they support that? And I'm not saying be a daycare. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not a volunteer in the schools to go out there and be a daycare provider. I'm there because I'm passionate about the students and I want to help have the same experience I had here back in the 90s to have that now for the families so they build those memories too. But, is it enough? That's why I said, I wasn't actually joking when I said, throw out on the survey, is a 4-day week something plausible? What are the ramifications of that? What are the costs of it? I'm still a banker, folks. You have to understand. I always look at the cost of everything. My own family deals with it, and I don't apologize to them anymore either. But what is enough? Where do we go from just being sufficient to guarding and retaining versus attracting? Where is that line, and how do we get there?
All right.
I'll be quiet now too.
You have some homework.
Yeah, I got some stuff.
Well, I will tell you, one of the most innovative schedules I had was when I worked in Fairfax County. It was a year-long schedule, and it went 9 weeks on, 3 weeks off, 9 weeks on, 3 weeks off.
Oh, yeah, I
And it
remember
was.
that. I could live with that.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. You had a month off in July. You still had the winter holidays. You still had the Easter. You had all that. It was a little bit more expensive, but maybe we look at that too.
You don't have the
I
learning
think,
loss.
I think always
learning
I'm
loss.
always about putting options on the table.
So,
And if that helps, everybody prevent learning loss and give breaks to everybody throughout the year. Because that's always my thing when we have a 4-day weekend, and I'm like, yay, but it's only 4 days. So-
Most of those schedules are 9 week on, 3 off, with still having 6 in the summer. The way that the times stagger with Thanksgiving, Christmas, summers,
and you
spring
offer,
break, all of that, you're still off.
You offer in that 3 weeks. You offer 2 weeks to those folks who need to come in.
Remediation.
Interesting.
I've done quite a bit of research on that, and I'm a big fan. The problem is the shock factor and the farmer schedule that we're just used to.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, but put it in front of us.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my
next.
gosh, I love that.
Next things.
So you have the attendance report there. It's not much has changed too. We're still continuing to increase, getting to 94, which is good. Everybody's really close there, so we hope to be there by this month. We'll have that for you in April. We won't have that for you in the 21st meeting, but excited about that too. And then I sent you, I just got this from Chief Dodson a couple days ago, so I sent it to you. It hadn't changed much. There's language in there. We allow, Stacy's done a good job allowing our SROs and police officers to have access to the buildings, which they need. So there's information that kind of has changed there, that they have to follow the procedures that all of our staff follows. Those that have email address, like Officer Connor in the back there, there's information in there about, details in there about how they have to handle that. So that's the only changes that are made, not many. But I do need you all to either approve this tonight or on the 21st, so we can, it's required by code to have.
I just wanted to comment that I thought it was interesting that it said school-based security, such as monitoring of the lunchroom, and I know that is a time of chaos sometimes, and the halls, and so I do hope we're using them.
Oh yeah. I think Officer Connor would tell you that he's in the lunchroom all the time and all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
And the great thing with our resource officers is they're so children friendly and build a super relationship.
Any chance that we're going to replace the one that was DIS?
So there's a new group going through, can't remember, there's a new group going through cadet training. Is that right? I think Chief told me, and they're going to, once they graduate, they're going to try to get somebody
Okay.
there permanently.
Great, good.
Yes, Academy will assist. So,
All right, does anybody have any other questions or comments about this?
I have a question, and maybe you can answer. Is everything like, I don't know how to state it, is everything illegal taken to SROs? So if someone is caught with marijuana, is that taken to SROs? Or marijuana in a
it's taken to, so the administrators deal with it first, and then they include law enforcement for it, and then if it's
100% of the time? That's my question.
from what I understand, yeah.
Okay.
Any drugs or anything.
Anything illegal.
Anything illegal is good. Yeah, they're involved with it. That's.
I'm not saying it's not, I'm asking.
That's required by
I know
law
there's-
now too. Is that we have to include law enforcement in those, in weapons, in drugs, and in serious threats to the school division or individuals.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Does anyone feel so moved to make this an action item tonight, or do we want to wait until next meeting at the end of the month?
I'm fine, yeah.
Make it an action item tonight.
I second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Rob, I just want to clarify, we did get the typo corrected on page 6.
I did. Well, so it's in my folder. So
Just making sure.
So
Before
you
we
need to
approve
sign
it,
this
send it
one.
off.
That one,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. It's this one that needs to be signed.
Okay.
If we pass it.
All right, so all in favor to move this to an action item, say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for a report of the superintendent?
That's all. Sorry it was long.
That's okay. Reports of board members. Does anyone have any?
Virtual board meeting next week.
Okay.
16th.
Yeah.
Just an update to everybody. I did have a President's Board meeting last night at NRCC.
Mm-hmm.
And the announcement of the governor's school being moved over to NRCC was brought up to much fanfare and appreciation. So it was really nice to see, and thank you to the two of you for serving on that board and helping make those decisions. I can tell you the board as well as the faculty and staff of New River are very excited about it. I'm excited for our students. I think it's going to be an awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
But they are already chomping at the bit. I'm not sure how much they shared with you all about the logistics of it at the moment. But
Jenny didn't go to this meeting. I did.
Okay.
And they, went through all the logistics and
Good.
Everything. Had us meet all the staff that's going to be interacting with the children, and you can't beat President Huber. She's just so.
It
easy
looks
to
like
get
all
along
the
with.
classes are going to be held in Godby Hall
Yes.
at this time. Of course, the students will have access to the entire campus and be encouraged to, I don't want to say explore, but look around and enjoy the campus while they're there and the other things that are offered. But it was fantastic to sit back as a board member as well as a board member here and say, yep, y'all did a great thing there. So I'm excited for our students and for the whole community.
Yeah, it's going to be a good thing. I just have a report, speaking of Governor School students, they just had their, whatever the current level of their science fair projects was at Bradford University. So I guess it was regional, held at New River, and then, I don't think it's called super regional, but it's...
Maybe super regional.
It's the next level. And so we had a number of our Radford students win awards. Adeline Turner got the American Red Cross Award. Hava Gasimova got first in her category, which was Biomedical and Health Sciences, Cellular and Molecular Biology.
Wow.
Sounds great. Adeline Turner got second in Biomedical Engineering. Tommy Bloomer got third in Engineering Technology and Statistics and Dynamics. And Hava will move on to state.
That's great.
So it's pretty exciting. Yeah. It's good stuff.
I had Adeline Turner in second grade.
Did you?
I did. I just wanted to put something out there for the fellow board members. This is kind of something that's been on my heart and mind for quite a while. We can give our teachers all the planning time in the world, but if their instruction is being disrupted by behaviors, it's really hard for them to be effective. I wanted to ask that some sort of behaviors or discipline report be a part of our monthly agenda. We all know this has been an ongoing problem for a couple of years. And what I would hope is, for one thing, that this report would serve to remind families that they have to support our mission if we're going to educate every student every day. So I've been reviewing the student code of conduct, and probably we all should do that on a fairly regular basis. And it lists particular areas that I think need to be addressed, like disruptive conduct, profane, obscene, abusive language, threats or intimidation, assault and battery, which is fighting, bullying, use of or possession of alcohol, tobacco, electronic cigarettes, etc. I think it could be useful to bring these up again, and focus in and remind that there are consequences when these are violated, for the safety of our school, for the integrity of our instruction. That would do a lot to get your teachers to stay too, in my opinion. I'm throwing it out as a suggestion, and I would ask what the rest of you think.
So are you asking for statistics of infractions and interventions used? What are you
that would
wanting
be
to
a good
have?
starting place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you just wanted to focus on a particular one that's very troubling, and what progress are we making? Do we have some data to support that there's progress being made with?
What if we were to give you kind of similar to what we did? I think you were
right.
first
I remember.
meeting, I believe, and then I'm not a little concerned about actually telling you all what we did.
Right.
That worries me as far as confidentiality goes. But if we were to give you a report with the incidents that we had that particular month, and then you could compare it like you do with the attendance report. We could compare it the next month to that discipline report too, and it would have all those that you just mentioned on there, and you could see how many we had in a particular month.
Okay. All right.
How's
That would be a good place to start.
If the board would like to.
That
would be a start, and then we could look at if there are areas. You said focus on a particular area, which one's popping up the most?
Yeah.
What can we do, or how can we do? We know it's a problem, but we don't have data to know how much of a problem and how often.
I think we'd also support our ability, as we mentioned before, to be a liaison back to the community. If we could mention specifically, saying, well, we're still seeing these problems. If I can say, we saw 48 of these issues last month, that has, to me, a lot more power to help encourage the families in the community to say, we do need to look at that.
Another thing besides the number of incidents, could you break it down to the age groups?
Sure.
The different schools.
Because somebody might look at it and say, 48 cases of bullying, well, that's all in high school. Or other instances of fighting or something, and somebody goes, we have preconceived notions about where those things are occurring. So I think we need a breakdown not only of the behaviors, but the age groups they fall into.
Sure.
Okay.
Be nice.
Would the data come from Power School?
That's not a hard report.
Is there a standard about how data is entered into Power School?
Yes.
I'm not talking code. I'm talking, well, I guess I am talking the code.
You talk about behaviors?
Yeah.
So every time that there's a behavior, whether it's a disruption in class or even a weapon on campus, has to be entered into the incident section of the Power School database. And you have to be explicit about what you put in there, and then there's a comment section where you put all the information about exactly what happened during the incident. Okay. So and then Paige can run a report that disaggregates it all and puts it onto a sheet that you all can see.
Yeah.
And that's administrators who input that data.
Yes, at the school level.
I guess what I'm asking is I've seen the reports and disruptive behavior, and then I've seen reports where other people who are more detailed say what that was.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, do we have a standard, or we just kind of leave that free text up to whomever?
I
Because
don't-
disruptive behavior don't mean much to me.
I don't
know
think
what
we
it means.
would be able to pull what the comment was for that, because it goes in as disruptive behavior, and it could be in the comment section, the student used explicit language that was, inappropriate in a classroom setting. I don't think we could pull that part up for you. We'd have to go in and get that form. I don't think Darden's good with power. I don't think you can do that, can you, Darden?
You get a breakdown of each type of incident, and you'd have to run a very detailed report for each incident in order to get comments, exactly how it was disruptive in class.
Yeah.
So we just did a query of, because we have this April 10th that I've shared with you all with Laura Stack coming to deal with, to talk about marijuana and vaping and dab penning and those types of things. We did a query for students from this year who had been caught vaping or dabbing or those types of things. It just says, it lists them all. There's like 43 or 44, and it just says vaping or, those types of things. It doesn't come up with a comment on it. I think we'd have to go in there and physically actually put that into the Excel document or cut and paste it into.
And the other thing, all right, I understand. I don't think I'm after that kind of detail, but the kind of detail that I think if we're going to do this, I would like to see repeat offenders. I'd like to understand that some, because I hear names in the community, and I mean we're small. And we hear this. I'd like to, if Jim Bob has been in the office 19 times this year for disruptive behavior, I think we're at the point the board needs to understand that. But maybe I'm wrong.
No,
but
I agree with
that's
you.
where my head is. If we're going to look at discipline, I'd
Sure.
like to see the repeat offenders and understand what we're doing, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
You
No,
tell
I
me,
think
Mr.
that's-
Graham. I don't know how detailed
I think
we can
that's
get.
valid.
That one worries me a little bit too.
I understand. That's why I don't really know how to word it.
I don't know the confidentiality. I mean, I need to ask Rodney about that.
That would have to be a closed.
Yeah, that would have to be. But
Unless could we do a percent? Could we do percentage that are percentage of recidivism?
I don't think that would give
No.
him what he wants. I
But
hear what
maybe
you're
it could be
saying.
closed. Does it have to be a discipline hearing for us to hear about discipline?
No.
So
we just
so
have to
maybe
go in
if
as number two.
That may be an appropriate way to handle the whole thing to avoid your concern about the confidentiality.
Maybe we pick a date that you all want to see that information.
yeah, I mean, we want. I think we want to help.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
we don't know how, because we don't know what's going on other than rumor, and that's not the right way to hear about it. And,
No.
and you get what I'm saying. I don't have to go on.
Well, there's part of me that thinks it would be fine to have it during open session, during
No,
our,
this
like
is-
the
this is
attendance,
fine.
that stuff
Yeah.
during
But then
open,
if you need details, we go in.
then we could go and discuss in there.
That would be the way to do it.
And I guess to the point is, to use the example, if you have 48 instances and 27 of them are one person,
That's something.
we've
yeah.
identified an issue. So maybe that's how we can try and help in closed session.
So I'm
to address
thinking
that.
you all tell me when you want to do it, and we'll put it on the closed session agenda and have the report.
I think that's fair.
I don't know if we want to do it March 21st because we got a lot.
Yeah, we need to
That's
do
a lot.
budget.
Please.
But
Yeah,
are
we're
you-
getting a 4-day school day week. That's what I noticed. Then we got to look at.
But are we thinking of
April
having?
7th, would that be possible? Is that when our meeting is?
It would be nice to maybe do it after the budget
Oh,
is.
right, okay.
So I mean, maybe
April 7th, we're still doing budget.
But
Okay.
we're still need to present it to the city council.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Maybe May would be a good.
Could we do it quarterly? Could we do it, like, get it on a routine of, I mean, I don't know if quarterly really works, but, every few months, sort of school starts.
I think I'd like to see us start with an appropriate date. Maybe May is the appropriate time to see that monthly to begin with. And then if we Or
We
identify,
can-
just to
I can
identify the
get
trend.
this for you for May 21st.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
He's talking about detail.
The
Yeah.
details.
Yeah, no, it's a general information to begin with, and then we're looking for detail to come in later, general information monthly, in my opinion. Gloria,
Okay.
okay. Your idea?
Yeah.
Whatever.
But then detail maybe quarterly.
Quarterly or something
I
like
think
that.
that would be sufficient.
Yes.
Does that work?
So can we add that
I'm gonna
discipline
take that away
report
from you.
on to?
No, that's
for
fine.
May
That's why I put it
21st?
out.
And then,
Did you say May 21st?
I'm sorry, March 21st. And then and then the May meeting for a
Closed session,
closed session,
disciplinary.
Cumulative report.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is gonna be under your superintendent's report for the first time, right?
Yes.
Yes, it'd be the same as attendance.
The
And then
second one's closed.
Second one's under closed,
It'll have names.
under other, or closed.
All right.
Thank you.
Do we have any other reports from the board?
Sorry.
Anything else?
That's just the action items.
Okay.
So-
So SOL assignment.
Yeah, you have the SOL
assessments?
assessments and virtual learning, and I'll talk to you all about that, and just need to have your approval.
Right.
Yeah, so it's 5 days at the high school, 7 days at the middle school.
And is this something that we're discussing to do every year? Or is it are we just
Most of the
asking us?
divisions that are close to us are doing it every year now.
So, but what you're asking for right now is for us to approve this
Just
being
for,
a.
just for this year's, I think we should approve it every year.
Okay.
Because there could be different circumstances.
So should I
around
say
that.
for the?
For the 2022, 2023.
All right. Can I hear that action item? Can I hear that
Have it
read,
back.
please? Or I mean, how does that read?
So there's what's the testing date, Darden? May 15th, 16th?
The week of May 15th.
May 15th would be the testing for the high school, the non-writing portion. The writing portion just for 8th grade is March 22nd,
Right,
23rd.
yeah, I saw
So
that.
we would have our 7th graders virtually learning on those 2 days, so our 8th graders could focus on the writing assessment.
Okay.
And then the 15th through the 20th would be whoever's taking an assessment would be coming to school. Everybody else would be virtually learning, except for the high school students who are in credit recovery or are failing a grade that they need to come.
So this makes it so that the buildings are quiet, so that the
Yes.
staff,
So
who we're already short-staffed.
We don't have to have a holding room filled with 200
Yeah.
kids, and
Yeah.
we're not doing anything with them.
Right. And so it helps all staff being able to have all hands on deck.
Yes.
To support.
And we don't have to hire substitutes at the secondary level. We're not doing it at the elementary level because we're able to hire subs there to help provide more personnel there.
And this will be pushed out to families in a
Yes,
timely
as soon
manner.
as you all approve it.
Okay.
Okay. You may have any other questions about that? All right, do I have a motion to approve the SOL assessments and virtual learning for the 2022-2023 school year?
So
I-
moved.
Do I have a second?
Me, second.
Any further discussion?
Take one each way.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I need to skip B.
Okay. Then we need to
Please.
discuss the new menu item of the Smucker's PBJ sandwiches. Do I have a motion to approve the new menu item?
I make a motion to approve the new menu item as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And we've got the MOU with our police department.
I make a motion to approve the MOU with the police department as presented.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And we'll have to move the Jewel litigation to closed session. Is there anything else? That was it?
That's all.
That's all. All
We
right.
actually keep the Jewel in an open session for us to vote in after we get back from closed session.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Dr. Ray,
My
can
favorite part. Under Virginia Statute 2.2-3711, closed meetings authorized for certain limited purposes. A, public bodies may hold closed meetings only for the following purposes. 1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body, and evaluation of performance of departments or schools of public institutions of higher education where such evaluation will necessarily involve discussion of the performance of specific individuals.
Keep flipping. Oh, that's.
And number 7, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're in closed session. Okey doke. Dr. Ray, can you certify, or I guess we have to first make a motion, don't we?
Make a motion that we
Convene in regular session?
convene in regular session.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I make a motion that we certify closed session under reason number 1 and reason number 7.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Personnel?
Personnel, I'd like to get the approval for personnel report 1.0.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve personnel report 1.0?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Student matters.
Dr. Ray's got a motion for the dual litigation.
Yes, I move that the board approve the government entity settlement agreement with Jewel Labs Incorporated and the school board's participation in the settlement according to the terms and conditions of the settlement agreement, and authorize the chair to execute all necessary documents relating to the settlement of the litigation.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We didn't have any tuition today. Any other? No. All right, so the date for our next regular board meeting is March 21st, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the school administration building. And on this Thursday, March 9th, we have the board has a VSBA training here over Zoom. It's also a public meeting starting at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
9 to 2, okay.
Oh, can you all?
And we have to
would
send
you
you our
all
lunch
email-
orders.
Yeah, would you email me your lunch orders, please? Are you good with Jimmy John's?
Oh.
Are we doing BTs or
Or
Jimmy
we
John's?
can
I don't
do BTs,
remember.
but you all decide. You just
Let's
need
do BTs.
Do BTs.
You want
So you'll-
BTs?
so
Sure.
You'll email me your
Okay.
lunch order tomorrow.
Do we have parameters?
No.
Oh.
I mean, you can't.
Baked Alaska.
Not an open bar.
Yeah, no,
So there's probably no alcohol.
All right.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
what the backpack's for.
Thank you so much. Our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
On that note.
Can I use your